She moved into the council home in Bronte Paths in June last year after her mother Sarah was diagnosed with cancer. Her mother, who paid all the bills and was the registered tenant, died in July this year. Stevenage Borough Council says that because Gemma can't prove she's been living there for 12 months, they've given her notice to leave.
Too many patients going to accident and emergency units in Beds, Herts and Bucks has led to 2 hospitals going on red alert. Bedford and Stoke Mandeville hospitals report days when they've had no more beds available. More from Carol Abercrombie.
Stoke Mandeville Hospital in Buckinghamshire is currently on red alert, and Bedford Hospital was in that situation earlier this week. All our hospitals have had an increase in numbers of people coming to A&E compared to the same period last year. On Monday, Watford had 295 patients, which is 28% higher than their usual attendance.
Central Bedfordshire Council is demanding that the decision about a huge house extension in Barton is made in public. Planning inspectors, who said the extension could stay, have been told to consider the application again. Conservative councillor Nigel Young says although they gave Syed Shah permission to alter his house, he went well beyond what they agreed he could do.
We're pressing the Department of Communities and Local Government planning inspectors to actually hold an inquiry in public for this, so we can put our case and Mr Shah can put his case. But ultimately, if the outcome goes the way we would want, because it has not got planning permission, he has to return it to what the original planning permission agreed.
In sport, Stevenage are out of the FA Cup after losing 2-1 to Maidstone United in their first round replay last night. Despite Borough equalising just 2 minutes after losing the lead, the home side got the winner with 3 minutes left on the clock. The weather will be bright at first but turning cloudy with outbreaks of rain. Top temperatures around 10 degrees Celsius, that's 50 degrees Fahrenheit. You can get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/Three Counties.
Hey, whoa, hey!
BBC Three Counties Radio's big tour of Beds, Herts and Bucks.
It's small enough to be friendly, but it's big enough to have quite a few things.
What does that mean?
This week, we're exploring Chesham.
I've lived here nearly 83 years, in the same house.
I'm 72. Well, that doesn't make sense.
Where you live.
I have had Chesham described as a northern town down south.
Who said that?
Big tour
I'll hit
of
'em.
Beds, Herts and Bucks. BBC Three Counties Radio.
Chesham Partack.
I don't want people making love while I'm talking.
What? Morning, guys. It's Friday. We're all a little bit excitable because Kelly Betts is here.
Hello.
Catherine Boyle is here.
Yeah.
Don't know where Justin is. Catherine and I, we had a little road trip yesterday and we saw one of Britain's greatest... We've not told you who we saw in London.
No, who did you see? Where did you go?
Well, I thought I'd spotted the greatest lookalike ever, and then I realised it was the actual person.
Yeah.
Who was it?
And what was my cry?
You went, Stringy. Actual Stringy! It was Peter Stringfellow.
Oh,
Stringy!
yay!
Stringy came to the restaurant we were in. He couldn't get a seat.
Because we were in it.
He was escorted off the premises. Actual Stringy. So we are charting the rise, the fall and the rise of Actual Stringy. When have you seen Actual Stringy? Where have you seen Actual Stringy? And when have you seen Actual Peter Stringfellow? 08459 455 555.
Good talking, mate.
Yeah, it's a great talking. You're thinking, well, we'll get so many calls on when people have seen Peter Stringfellow.
Actual Stringy.
But it's got to be Actual Stringy.
We're not accepting any string-alikes.
No string-alikes this morning. Stop stringing us along, guys. 08459 455 555. Other bits and pieces, evictions, elections, and demonstrations. What? 08459 455 555.
Across Beds, Herts and Bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Got that song that I asked for? No, because you've been too busy chatting about what you get up to in the shower.
No, it's coming.
Exactly.
We do have fun in the shower, though, don't we, Cam?
08459
I need you to be in it with me.
455.
I just like to make sure you're doing it right.
555 is the telephone number if you'd like to give us a call and tell us where you have seen Actual Stringy.
Not the string-alike.
We saw him yesterday. He looks old. He looks really old. He's always looked old, but now he looks older. Beautiful young wife, beautiful young baby. Or maybe it's a future wife. We just don't know. We just don't know.
It might have been his daughter or his granddaughter. It might have been a young friend. It might have been a protégé.
Or it might have been his lover and their child. That's kind of what I'm thinking. 08459 455 555. We don't do requests, but Carpet Martin asked for a song yesterday. I thought, you know what? We'll have some of this. It's the Beach Boys. It's the Beach Boys, isn't it? That's for Carpet Martin, who tweeted me. It's not, it's for me. He reminded me that's a great song, and I don't think he's awake yet, so we might play it again later. What's your beef?
I haven't got beef. Doesn't sound like the Beach Boys, though, does it?
No, it doesn't sound like the Beach Boys, no. It's the 70s Beach Boys.
It sounds like a Paul McCartney job.
No, it doesn't sound
Does
like
a bit.
It doesn't sound anything like a Paul McCartney job.
I think so.
I'll give you a Paul McCartney job in a minute.
Please don't.
Now, a woman is facing eviction from her family home in Stevenage following the death of her mother. Gemma Sheldrick says despite the fact she's been living in the property for the last year, the council won't let her live there. Before she died of cancer, Gemma's mum, Sarah, had been honoured by the Queen for her community work. I'd love to get your thoughts on this and whether you think... Look, Gemma, we'll speak to Gemma later on, but whether you think that she should be allowed to stay there or whether the council are right. Catherine Boyle's been looking into this. What's the background to this story, please?
Well, Gemma's mother died of cancer in July, aged 46. That's no age at all, is it? And just a few months after she was named as a recipient of the British Empire Medal for her community work in the Queen's New Year's Honours. At the Pride of Stevenage Awards in October, I'm going to sneeze.
Well, bless you. That's never...
Sorry.
It's never a professional thing to do, is it?
I had to announce it. At the Pride of Stevenage Awards in October, a ceremony which was part organised by Stevenage Borough Council, Sarah was honoured again posthumously for her efforts in the community. And Gemma says that in June last year she moved in with her mother in the address in Bronte Paths to help her through her cancer. The property was registered in the name of her mother, obviously, who paid all the bills. The problem is, for her to take over the tenancy, the council wanted evidence that Gemma was living there for the past year, including, according to Miss Sheldrick, month-by-month bills and a tenancy agreement. But you see, no formal agreement was made and the bills are not in her name, they're in her mother's name, so she can't prove she's been living there at all. The council have now given her notice to leave the two-bedroom property.
We're speaking to Gemma later on, but just give us a little brief summary of what she says.
Well, she says all her post was sent to her previous address in Osterley Close, which she shared with her ex-boyfriend, and where she still pays the rent. rent. Speaking about her family home, she says that she's grown up there. She says, it does scare me because obviously it's my home and it's a more secure home than anywhere else. Consider all the stories you hear about people getting away with so much and they still have a home. We as a family have done nothing but give to the community, but it's me they tried to get out. It's a kick in the teeth. So she obviously feels that her mother's record as a community fundraiser and an activist should stand in her favour. Talking about facing eviction, she told us that she would be gutted because it's her family home. She says, I was brought up there and I've lived here pretty much all my life, and my nan lives next door, so it would be difficult for her. When it comes to someone passing away, it's never easy. The lead up is difficult, and after, there is so much you have to do that just reminds you of it. This just makes it harder. Gemma also told us that a panel hearing was booked for the 23rd of October at Stevenage Borough Council to discuss her case, but she said that was cancelled.
We're speaking to Gemma. Are we speaking to Stevenage Borough Council? No.
No, unfortunately, it's another Pen Friends job. Stevenage Borough Council is refusing to put up anyone for interview, but they did send us a statement. In order for anyone to take over a tenancy, we asked for evidence showing that they've lived at the house for 12 consecutive months before the date of death. As Ms Sheldrick has not yet been able to provide this, we asked that she contact our housing advice team, who will be able to offer her advice and guidance on her housing options.
Your thoughts on this, please. 08459 455 555. Should she be allowed to stay there, or do you think that the council in this case are right? Guys, when have you seen actual Stringy? Peter Stringfellow. We've all seen him. We've all come across him. Kath got very excited when you saw him in That There London yesterday.
Well, I've been meaning to call him.
What?
I've been meaning to call him.
I think you're about 20 years too late, my darling.
That's what you think.
Yeah, what?
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's starting to look a little bit busy on the speed sensors in Bricket Wood on the North Orbital Road. It's very heavy around the M25 junction 21A roundabout. Having a look elsewhere in Milton Keynes on the A421 Standing Way, there's roadworks in place there at the Kingston roundabout. So expect delays through there later on, but it's looking fine on the cameras at the moment. And in Roxton on the A1 Great North Road, there's the roadworks going on to the Black Cat roundabout. That's not causing any delays so far, but again, is likely to get very busy later on. Having a look at the M1, it's moving very well in both directions at the moment. moment. No reports of any problems on the A1M, but a bit further afield on the M11 northbound, it's down to 1 lane between junction 5 for Loughton and 6 for the M25 because of an accident earlier on. So no reports of any problems so far on the trains. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you so much, Samantha Bruff. 6:16, it's Friday. Sing Hosanna's what? It's the 21st of November. We're just over a month away from Christmas. Sweet. These are your headlines. UKIP has second... What? UKIP... Sorry. Let me... Yeah, whoa. Hey. Excuse me, I've got to sneeze. UKIP has its second elected MP after winning the Rochester by-election. A woman from Stevenage who cared for her mother until she passed away is now fighting eviction from the council home where they lived. And in sport, Stevenage has been knocked out of the FA Cup.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The thing about Roberta is he never leaves the studio. Yabu sucks, Roberta.
Even though it's still only November, some places are getting a little bit Christmassy. So next Wednesday, I'm heading over to Bedford for their annual light switching on celebrations. I'll be based at the Bedford Swan Hotel, finding about all the stalls, coming face to face with some reindeer, and maybe meeting the man himself.
Roberto Perrone.
Live from Bedford's Christmas Light Switch On, next Wednesday from 3 here on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Kath just said, what was that, a fart? I said, no, it was the sound of a reindeer. Oh, man, I got to put the boys to bed last night. And we were in... this is so childish. They're 4 and 2 and I'm 41, for goodness sakes. We're having farting competitions. My youngest...
Careful.
What?
You want to be careful.
Yeah.
The winner could be the loser.
Particularly when they're sat on your head. But my 2-year-old was in proper, genuine hysterics. You know when they just can't stop laughing? It was so wonderful. And that got me... And I never laugh. I'm a miserable old git. And I was laughing. Fun times.
Sweet, apart from the, you know...
You explained to your daughters what... I mean, do you want to have this conversation?
Well, I was talking about Stringy and seeing actual Stringy.
Yeah. Peter Stringfellow, for those guys who aren't hip to the scene.
And my daughter said, who is Stringy?
Who's actual Stringy?
And I said, he runs a special club where ladies take their clothes off while they're dancing.
Yep.
She thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
One, a ridiculous idea,
Yeah.
and two, that they got their bottoms out.
Your sister wanted to be a stripper.
She did.
Well, she had 2 career paths she could have followed.
Stripper or a tramp.
Wow.
Which one did she go for?
Actually, she's a... What?
Here's the thing.
Is she stripping?
No.
Is she tramping? Here's the thing. Why would anybody want to be a stripper? Why do strippers want... They can't want to be strippers. No one can want...
Expressive, isn't it?
No, it's not expressive. It's...
Some people enjoy doing things that they're good at.
Well, I'm good at taking my clothes off. I do it every day, almost.
There you go.
But why would you go and do that?
You get paid for doing that.
It's a crazy idea. Whoever thought of it, obviously, is weird. But if it works, it works.
But I just don't know.
But my daughters are right. It's a ridiculous idea.
We could pay for people to put their clothes on.
So?
They'll start off naked.
Yeah.
And then you'll see them put the clothes on, and then you give them money and say thanks.
Yeah,
go away.
You don't call it giving it money, you call it making it rain. I've seen Rihanna videos.
Making it rain! Well, you chuck pennies at them.
No, not pennies.
No?
That would hurt, especially if they've not got any clothes on.
I don't get why anyone would want... I get why people would want to see it, but I don't get why anyone would... Have some respect for yourself, sisters. I respect you. That's why I'm going to put £10 in your stocking top, but...
It does sometimes feel good to take off a coat, though. So maybe it's like that, but like a lot.
Don't knock it till you've tried.
It does. I know what you mean when if you've got really tight shoes on or high heels.
Maybe it's that.
Kicking those bad boys off.
I'm going to take my blazer off now.
Yeah. Put a tenner in her stocking.
That felt
it just. But why would anyone do that? Why would anyone want to? Do you know what? Do you know what I'm going to do? I am going to take my clothes off in front of lonely old men whose wives don't know they're here.
Rhythmically.
Is that like rhythmically?
Rhythmically.
Rhythm is a dancer.
Yes.
08459 455 555.
Can I just say my sister did want to be a stripper, but there was a caveat.
Yes. Oh, you're not allowed to wear those.
She would only be a stripper if she could keep her bra on.
There we go, you see.
Cupid, draw back your bow and let your arrow go straight to my love lover's heart for me, for me. Cupid, please hear my cry and let your arrow fly straight to my lover's heart for me. Now, I don't mean to bother you, but I'm in distress. There's danger of me losing all of my happiness. For I love a girl who doesn't know I exist, and this you can fix. So, Cupid, draw back your bow and let your arrow go straight to my lover's heart for me. Nobody but me. Cupid, please hear my cry and let your arrow fly straight to my lover's heart for me.
I'm going to sneak.
Cupid, if your arrow make a love storm for me, I promise I will love her until eternity. I know between the two of us her heart we can steal. Help me if you will. So, Cupid, draw back your bow and let your arrow go straight to my lover's heart for me.
In October, I'm going to sneak.
Cupid, please hear my cry and let your arrow fly straight to my lover's heart for me. Now, Cupid, don't you hear me calling you? I need you, Cupid.
In October, I'm going to sneak. I'm going to sneak.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Red alert levels have been reached at 2 accident and emergency hospitals in Beds, Herts and Bucks before the main winter peak period. Patient admissions to accident and emergency reached the highest red alert level at Stoke Mandeville and Bedford this week, while other hospitals in the 3 counties report that their admissions have risen. The Lister Hospital in Stevenage has seen the number of people arriving in ambulances at its A&E department go up by 8%. We can speak now to Peter Gibson, who's Communications Manager for East and North Hertfordshire NHS Trust. Morning, Peter.
Morning.
What's the pressure like on the A&E departments at the Lister Hospital in Stevenage?
Well, one of the things about A&E is that there's a typical cycle. It's very busy in the winter months. It begins to ease off a little bit in the spring, quieter in the summer, and then it begins to ramp up back up for the winter. And we really haven't seen any changes this year since last January. It's remained busy throughout that whole period. Now, we're coping, but it's just busy constantly.
Does that mean, are you expecting it to stay the same through winter, or will that prolonged period of busyness, will that increase?
That's what we don't know yet. We don't know whether what we're seeing now is just the new steady state, that's just the way things are, or whether we'll see a further increase into the winter. We're preparing for that, but obviously that's the worry.
Will the Lister be able to cope if it goes up?
Yeah. I mean, it is a real challenge, but one of the things that we have, which is a real boon, if you like, at this time, is that we've just obviously opened our brand new emergency department. It's twice as big as it was before. The capacity's increased. We've got more wards behind it, and with the help of our clinical commissioning group, we've actually opened up even more beds to cope with these extra numbers, the attendances. And it's not so much the attendances that matter, it's the level of admissions. So what we're actually seeing is a higher percentage of more sick patients coming into the emergency department. The old split used to be roughly 60-40 between very sick people and people with perhaps less life-threatening injuries and illnesses. It's now sort of approaching more like 80-20.
The East of England Ambulance Trust has suggested that the loss of the A&E department at the QE2 in Welling could be a factor.
Absolutely nothing to do with it, and quite frankly I don't know why they're saying that, because the figures we provided you were for the whole trust. and so therefore there is, we're providing like with like. There is no impact from that, and in fact the majority of the blue light ambulance conveyances for the QE2, things like emergency surgery, heart attacks, strokes, have been coming to the Lister for over 2 years.
Have you got any? Are there contingency plans, Peter? If there is a sudden, peak during the cold snap, what's the plan there?
Well, you know that the government just recently announced more money for winter planning, and that's going into extra beds and extra staff. We'll take on the winter. We're working closely with the ambulance service and with our colleagues in the care commissioning groups to ensure that whilst it will no doubt remain very busy, that we will cope.
Peter, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Peter Gibson, Communications Manager for East and North Hertfordshire NHS Trust.
On FM, AM, online and digital radio.
This is Iain Lee.
On BBC Three Counties Radio.
Oh, yeah.
Hang on, I'm just going to sneeze.
Kath, you all right?
I'm going to sneak.
What? Hey, mate. Two interesting stories about politics today.
Tell me one.
Okay, well we'll do the big, I guess the slightly bigger story a little bit later on. But the front page of there's a weird story. The front page of the Mail, the Sun, the Guardian. I mean, these papers all came out before the by-election result where UKIP won, which is the other story. But they all have. Labour, this is the Sun. Labour MP resigns over dig at white van man's England flags.
Yeah.
I'm surprised because I saw the tweet yesterday, and I thought it's probably a little bit ill-advised. She put a picture of a house with a white van out the front and two untainted flags of St George, tatty horrible things hanging from a window, and another one with a football crest on.
She made a kind of snobbish remark.
Image from #Rochester, where UKIP were last night set to win a by-election. Well, she's now stood down. She's resigned for that. All right, it was ill-advised, and the Sun story is obviously slightly loaded. A rich Labour MP caused fury yesterday by seeming to sneer at a white van man's England flags. I'll be honest, they look flipping horrible. Goes to page 4 and 5 of the paper. The gentleman's in there. I'll describe him. Is the description relevant? Yes, it is. Big bald fella, tats all over his arms. He's a big lad. MP's a snob. I'll keep my flags flying. White Van Dan hits back.
Isn't that all that was required, just that response? Did she need to stand down?
I'll be honest, it looks flipping horrible. We've said this before. I think the flag of St George hanging from people's windows looks absolutely horrible, particularly when they're in a completely ragged state like this fella's. They're dirty, they're horrible. But she's stood down. I would imagine. Go to The Guardian. Shadow Minister quits after tweaked gaffe. A senior Labour MP has resigned from Ed Miliband's shadow cabinet over accusations of snobbery. Emily Thornberry, the shadow attorney general, quit after tweeting a picture of a house decked in 3 St George's flags. I think that's ridiculous that she's. I would imagine she's been told to stand down because Labour obviously are. Can we say cacking at themselves on the radio?
They're feeling slightly windy.
Thank you very much indeed. And they get.
I'm going to sneak.
All right.
That's me.
But that's not a standing down offence, is it? So okay, let's put this out there.
People aren't allowed to say stupid stuff on Twitter anymore. We might as well close down Twitter.
A Labour MP tweeted a picture of what, to be honest, looks like a horrible place. Is a white van. Not judging the white van, it's the flags that does it for me. That I think makes it look a little bit scummy. She's had to stand down from her job. Does it sound sensible? I don't think so.
Here's what I think.
Go on, Catherine. Catherine's point of view.
If you stick anything out of your window, you're asking for attention. You got attention.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
In Amersham, having a look at the speed sensors through the roadworks on White Line Road, and that's not causing any delays at the moment, but the roadworks are at Little Reeves Avenue, so that could get busy later on. In Roxton on the Great North Road, there's roadworks going on to the Black Cat roundabout. It's moving fine at the moment looking at the cameras, but that is likely to get busy as we get into the morning rush hour this morning. Having a look further afield on the motorways, the M11 northbound is very slow at the moment between junction 5 for Loughton and 6 for the M25 after an accident, but that accident has now been moved to the hard shoulder, so should be moving again as normal very soon. Having a look at the trains, if you're commuting into London, no delays are showing up at the moment on the departure boards. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 6:30. I'm Lee Agnew. The headlines. The UK Independence Party has its second elected MP after winning the Rochester and Stroud by-election. Mark Reckless, who defected from the Tories, won the seat with a majority of just under 3,000. A woman from Stevenage who cared for her mother until she passed away is now fighting eviction from the council home where they lived. Stevenage Borough Council says Gemma Sheldrick doesn't have the right to stay there. And there's concern that casualty departments are struggling to cope with a growing number of patients. Over the past week, Bedford and Stoke Mandeville hospitals have closed their doors because no beds were available. The weather will be bright at first but turning cloudy with outbreaks of rain. Top temperatures around 10 degrees Celsius, that's 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Stevenage are out of the FA Cup after losing 2-1 to Maidstone United in their first round replay last night. The home side got the winner with 3 minutes left on the clock. Refusing to blame the defeat on the 3G pitch, Stevenage manager Graham Wesley praised his opponents.
So we're more than a match for us over the two games. We played them on grass and we played them here. People talk about the surface. It's not about the surface. Their appetite and their attitude to winning, their know-how in terms of winning. They've got some good quality players there, lads who are way below the level they're capable of playing at, and they deserve to beat us.
Stevenage play Northampton tomorrow. It's the MK Dons against Port Vale, while Luton travel to Burton Albion and Wickham play Cheltenham. Watford face Championship leaders Derby, and the Hornets boss Slavica Djukanovic is excited at the prospect.
I expect it's going to be perfectly day for us, front of our supporters, fighting with top team in the Championship. Really, I like how Derby play games, but we are working for try best way for us fighting against them.
Lewis Hamilton says he doesn't feel under pressure ahead of the title-deciding Abu Dhabi Grand Prix this weekend. Hamilton leads Mercedes teammate Nico Rosberg by 17 points and needs to finish second if Rosberg wins to secure the title. Hamilton says his familiarity with the circuit could work in his favour.
It's a great circuit. It's generally suited the car that I had when I was back in McLaren years ago, and it's definitely a track that's has suited my driver style in the past, but every year is different, and I hope to take that positivity into this weekend.
And that's BBC Three Counties News and Sport with more at 7 o'clock.
In October, I'm going to sneeze.
If you hear a whisper, give us a shout.
Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Where have you seen actual Stringy? Peter Stringfellow, where and when have you seen him? 08459 455 555. Front page of... I'm surprised it's the front page of so many papers. This Emily Thornberry, the Shadow Attorney General, tweeting a picture of a bloke's house with a white van. The white van to me is irrelevant. It's the horrible, dirty St George's flags he's got flying. And we've said this before. I do think it looks. I mean, chavvy is a lazy word, but you kind of know what I mean by that, don't you? When I say that, it looks chavvy and horrible. She shouldn't have stood down.
The World Cup isn't on. There's no reason to be displaying this unless you're making some sort of statement, I would argue.
Embarrassed leader Ed Miliband issued a public dressing down to Ms Thornberry. This is Ed Miliband who got his backside whopped by a pop singer, Mylene Klass. For goodness sakes. 08459 455 555. Your thoughts on that, please. Was she right to stand down? Was she right in implying that it looks a bit scummy, really? And the other political story, of course, is that UKIP have won another by-election. There are now 2 UKIP MEPs. I'd love to know. We'll send Justin out on either of these. I suspect he'll want to go for the flag one, but we'll get him on at about 10 to and find out which one tickles his fancy. But UKIP now have 2 MPs, and I just wondered how that made you feel, dear listener. Was that exciting? Was that good? Was that sad? What?
Do you think it's one in the eye for the man?
Well, I listened to the gentleman's speech. What's his name? Keith Restless. Mark
Reckless.
Reckless, that's the fella. And his speech was, he was playing down the fact that he was suggesting that immigrants should be sent back last week. And he said that that they were the party for the working people, they were the party for the unemployed, for the employed. Basically, they're the party for everyone. He says he's got black friends and he's got European friends, and so they're the party for everyone. He did have a majority before of about 7,000 when he was a Tory. That was down to 3,000. But the Tories threw everything they had at this election to try and win it. Another interesting thing, Lib Dems got, I think...
349, I think, votes.
349 votes. The Greens got about 4,000. The Lib Dems are in terrible trouble. I'm not a massive follower of politics, but I do think these are really interesting times. The general election is going to be quite an exciting one.
Well, UKIP started out as a bit of a joke, didn't they? Everyone sneering at them. You know, the popular press thought that Farage was a bit of a comedy character. Maybe now it's time to take them seriously, because this is more than a protest vote, isn't it?
08459 455 555. Two political stories there. Hanging flags outside of your house was was Emily Thornberry right to step down? And the result last night, UKIP, giving the Tories a spanking, and the Lib Dems a sound thrashing around their bots. 08459 455 555. What else you got in the papers?
Some of the first dinky toys ever made have fetched almost £50,000 at auction.
Flippin' Ada!
2 boxes containing 12 rare delivery vans from the firm's infancy in 1933 were snapped up by a private collector. Miniature lead vehicles, so deadly vehicles.
Don't lick those vehicles.
Were the first to boast advertising, and the brands emblazoned on their sides include Oxo, Kodak, Meccano and Castrol Oil. They're still going today. Experts at special auction services in Newbury, Berkshire, were amazed when the toys, which cost the equivalent of 2.5 pence in the 1930s, fetched double their estimated guide price. I bet there are people out there who are sick at the toys that they have had chucked out in the past.
Here we go. How running slows a... Oh, yeah, I've had some... we were just saying, you got that letter, you fished that letter from your 6-year-old out of the bin, the letter to Father Christmas asking for a phone and a tablet. I threw all my kind of stuff away when I was like 20, 21, and I threw everything out.
That's the past. I'm chucking that.
What an idiot. What an idiot. What a plum. How running slows ageing.
Well...
running can help slow... You go and look at a runner...
Is that because it's kind of time travel?
What?
Because you're getting there faster than someone else?
No.
You're in the future and
because it's by making people more energy efficient. People with an average age of 69... who run 3 times a week... There's a lot of maths here, hang on. People with an average age of 69 who run 3 times a week for a minimum of 30 minutes... can walk as efficiently as someone in their 20s. What does that even mean? They can walk efficiently?
When I was in my 20s, I didn't realise how efficiently I was walking.
No.
You just don't,
You take that for granted.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you look at the face of a runner, they are haggard beyond belief.
Yeah.
They are completely Merle haggard. It's an awful, horrible look.
I mean, look at the Radcliffe.
Yeah.
When she's running, it doesn't look like fun to me.
No, well, she has to... We know the Paula Radcliffe way, don't we?
Yeah, yeah.
Why are you doing a Stevie Wonder?
Because that's what she does when she's running. She's like leading herself on with her head.
It's not only what she does, is it, Peter?
Hi, good morning.
You know what Paula Radcliffe does when she's running, don't you?
No.
Poo.
Oh, yes, I do, actually.
Yes, you do.
Only on one occasion.
Yeah, well that's one too many.
Apparently it's quite common, and hardened runners will do that.
If you run a marathon, it loosens your bowels. That is a fact. I'm not even...
No. They drink a lot of water to sustain...
That's not Peter. That's not what she did.
I know, but that's why she loses water.
Yeah, she lost water. Then what was she eating then to make her lose that?
No, it's not what she's eating. She ate that before she ran.
Yeah, well, she shouldn't have eaten that. Anyway, but it's true. If you're a long-distance runner, it loosens your bowel. Anyway, Peter, what do you want to have a whinge about today?
I just wanted to talk about the by-election, basically.
Yeah, go on.
I think they've got even bigger problems with that, because many people like me would wish the Scottish National Party to put up candidates in England. Because I think they're already going to get the balance of power anyway. What? And if they put up candidates in England, I think there's quite a few who get elected on their social policies. Hello?
But they don't care about England. What are you talking about?
What do you mean they don't care about England? We've got some great Scottish people here.
The Scottish National Party. They're for Scotland, aren't they?
It doesn't. No. The Scottish National Party.
They want to rethink their title, then.
That's the name. I mean, if they put up candidates in it, well, Salmon's going to stand anyway.
Yeah, but Kath is putting a confused face, and I...
Well, she may be confused, but I followed politics for many, many years, and I'll tell you straight,
okay, well,
she needn't be confused.
You needn't be?
Oh.
Neeten. You needn't be. But the thing is, they're the Scottish Nationalist Party. Why would they want to get involved in English politics? And why would anyone in England vote for them?
Because if they want to get everything they require, they should get as many seats as...
But who's going to vote for them? Peter, you're insane. Who's going to vote for them?
There are many thousands... Because they've got no other parties to vote for, there's many thousands of English people would vote for them because of their social policies.
In Scotland?
It don't matter where it is.
Peter, I'm going to let you go because I think you might have been at the old sherry a little bit too early.
It kind of does matter. I mean, why don't we vote for, I don't know, Le Front National? Because they've got some strong policies. What?
You're actually raising your nose in the air.
Don't get it.
There's a big question mark that's just appeared over your head.
I know.
Kev's in Northampton. Good morning, Kev.
Hey, morning, Ian.
Hey, Kev. Morning, Kev.
Yeah, listen, I saw that video of you the other day.
Hang on, which video?
And you look terrible. You look well out of shape, mate.
Which video? Which video?
Oh, of you down at the caravan park, the mobile home, chasing the car after that guy.
What video?
There's no video of it.
Why not?
Well, Well, okay, let's assume in your fantasy world you do have video of me running. What would you like to suggest?
I would like to suggest that you join one of these British military fitness classes.
I would like to suggest that you get knotted.
Okay, can I just say something crazy?
I love crazy.
All my life has been a series of doors in my face, and then suddenly I bump into you.
I was thinking the same thing, because, I've been searching my whole life to find my own place. And maybe it's the party talking or the chocolate fondue.
But with you,
I found my place.
I see your face, and it's nothing like I've ever known before. Love is an open door. Love is an open door. Love is an open door. With you. Love is an open door.
It's crazy.
What?
We finish each other's
sandwiches.
That's what I was gonna say.
I've never met someone who thinks so much like me. Jinx again. Our mental synchronization can have but one explanation.
You
and I
were
just meant to be. Say goodbye
to the pain of the past.
We don't have to feel it anymore. Love is an open door.
Can I say something crazy? Will you marry me?
Can I say something even crazier? Yes!
If you stick anything out of your window, you're asking for attention.
You are.
Warning.
Kath is totally quote-tastic today,
Did
isn't she?
that song just happen?
Yeah.
That was a real song.
Yeah, and Kath explained to me huge bits that I've missed out of I've seen Frozen.
Don't spoil it.
They die at the end.
No.
I've seen Frozen so many times, but I've always missed the bit where the good guy turns bad. Whoa, spoiler alert. Sorry for
How
getting...
have you missed that bit?
I've got two boys.
Even I know that.
That completely took me by surprise the first time I saw that.
I know that he is
I
bad.
knew something was going to happen, though.
It was too much, right, for her to marry the first boy she ever meets.
Yeah.
That couldn't happen.
I know that he turns bad, but I just always miss the bit where he turns bad, so I'm never quite sure how he got there. But guys, what a boring conversation this is, isn't it? Let's go back and see how far they've gone.
I thought, oh, he is the one that she's going to end up with.
I thought he was going to end up with Ice Queen because he's into ice.
I'm going to leave them to talk while we go to the travel, guys. Let's see if they're still talking when we get back, shall we?
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Having a look at the speed sensors around High Wycombe, and it's moving very well at the moment. There's roadworks on Marlow Hill in both directions at Marlow Road Junction, but that's not causing any delays so far. In Aylesbury on Great Western Street, there's closed there for roadworks between Walton Street and Friarage Road, so that could cause some delays. Might get busy around there later on. And in Hemel Hempstead on Leighton Buzzard Road, there's roadworks in place at Moor End Road, not causing any delays at the moment, but is likely to cause some problems later on. Having a look at the motorways on the CCTV cameras, and things are moving very well on the M40 in both directions. No delays on the M25 at the moment, and the A1M is looking clear at the moment. And the reports of any problems on the trains. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. 6:46, it's Friday the 21st November, and I am hungry. These are your headlines. UKIP has won the Rochester by-election. A woman from Stevenage who cared for her mother until she passed away is now fighting eviction from the council home where they lived. And in sport, Stevenage have been knocked out of the FA Cup by non-league Maidstone. Shame on you. Here's the weather with Sarah.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, for some of us, a chilly start this morning. We're at 4 degrees widely across all three counties. And, temperatures aren't going to get that high today because we've got quite a bit of cloud just now. And that cloud is going to linger through much of the day today. We might see a little bit of breaking in the mid-morning period. But because there's a lot of cloud and then some rain to move in through this afternoon, the temperature's sticking around 7 or 8 Celsius at best through this daytime period. Rain in from about 2 o'clock. It's coming in from the southwest, clearing off towards the northeast. The odd moderate burst with that, and cater for about 3 or 4 hours worth of rain, so we'll have it through the evening rush hour. Behind it, the temperatures rise through the night up to around 11 Celsius by tomorrow morning, and then outbreaks of rain for both tomorrow and Sunday and into Monday too. A waving weather front sticking across our part of the world, giving us pulses of rain right the way through the 3-day period. And the temperatures will be mild for the time of year through the weekend, 12-13 Celsius with a noticeable southerly breeze. So it will be mild, but it will be wet right the way through the weekend, Ian.
Every weekday morning,
You can book your place on the show now.
Jonathan Vernon Smith.
Come on and get some help, get some assistance.
Tackling your consumer problems.
They couldn't trace an account in any of the names or any of the addresses that were given. For it to be running for 6 weeks and then for them to cut it all off again just doesn't make any sense.
The JVS show fights for your rights.
He came to me and asked if I could go and have a word with said bank.
I had an email from the bank to say that you'd been in touch with them, and the senior customs relations manager was most apologetic.
Thankfully, you managed to get your money back.
Yep, but that was due to, obviously, your station itself.
The JVS show. Weekdays from 9 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
08459 455 555. Dealey!
Hello, boss.
There's a surprise.
What do you mean?
Well, Catherine, do you want to put him in his place?
No.
Oh, you said you wanted to put him in his place?
No, I never.
You said, what? All right, I'll put him in his place.
OK, go on.
Where the flipping hell were you when we wanted our 6:38 coffee?
6:38?
5:38 coffee?
5:38. I was on the way to work.
You were late for work?
I was not late for work. Listen, my shift starts at 6 a.m.
Wow, he's working to rule.
Yeah, yes.
Wowzers, you're always in so bright and early, full of spunk.
Well, yes, I know, but I've got a busy weekend coming up and I've pre-planned a lot of things. I thought, do you know what? This morning I'd have a bit of a lay-in and did I enjoy it.
Oh,
yeah.
Did you?
I did indeed.
Good.
Yeah.
What you got for us?
Well, Chesham, the home of our big tour this week.
Chesham Partack.
Yeah, Chesham. So I've been to Chesham and I've been asking people what it's famous for. This didn't start...
It's in October.
Hang on.
Sneak.
You right, Kath?
Chesham.
Go on. Sorry.
OK. So I've been to Chesham asking people what it's famous for. This didn't start off very well, I have to say, but we got there in the end. Here's what happened. Take a listen. Ladies, sorry to interrupt you gossiping. I'm Justin from Iain Lee's programme. What's Chesham famous for?
Goodness knows.
Anything else to add?
No.
I don't know. Can you ask with my husband, please? Can you speak with him?
Yeah, I'll speak to your husband. What's his name?
I don't know.
You don't know his name?
Chesham. No, I know his name is Asif. But I don't know about the Chesham.
I'll go and ask Asif. Asif, what's Chesham famous for?
I don't know.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
John, nobody seems to know what this place is famous for. What's Chesham famous for?
Just some brushes is what I said.
2 Bs?
Yes.
It's another two somewhere, I don't know what they are.
That's a start, thank you.
You're welcome.
Margaret, can I start off by saying you look very glamorous this afternoon?
That's very kind of you. Nice to have a compliment.
Yeah, we love comps. So, what's Chesham famous for?
Boots, brushes.
So, they still make brushes here then?
Yes, they do. They do indeed, yeah.
How many brushes have you got?
Probably about 5.
What's your favourite brush?
The one that sweeps the leaves up on the drive.
Thank you very much.
Thomas Harding, one of the martyrs. The fact that Chesham had a brewery at one time and most people haven't grasped even where it was. Can I give you an example?
Please.
Waitrose in Chesham. I was in there talking to someone I knew and they said, well, I gather Chesham had it, but wherever was it? I said, you're standing on the site of it.
I have no idea what just happened in the last 1 minute, 27 seconds.
That is what Chesham is famous for. It's famous for a former brewery. They make brushes in Chesham.
And boots.
Yes, boots as well. They don't make boots there anymore, but they used to.
The footwear, because Boots, the chemist, is Nottingham, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. They used to make boots. I have to say, they had no grilled chicken. I had a very long walk to get my cigarettes. And, it was an interesting stay in Chesham. Good luck to Nick Coffer this afternoon.
Well, now, listen, later on you're going to be talking about this EDL march and speaking to some people who they're worried that business is going to be down when this march takes place in Luton. Justin, have you seen the front page of The Sun today?
I haven't, actually. Not
It's
yet.
a picture that was tweeted by an MP, a Labour MP. It's of a house with a white van outside and 3 flags of St George hanging from it, and she wrote, quote, images from #Rochester where UKIP were last night set to win a key by-election. Mm-hmm. She tweeted this yesterday.
Yeah.
She stood down from her job now.
So it is, I think, what we're trying to get at here, and I heard you talk about this earlier on, so by her tweeting that picture, she's got the perception in her mind that the people who fly the flag, they're a bit chavvy.
I agree with her.
Well, we're making that up. Actually, she didn't say that. I thought that she'd said something like, oh, how ghastly or something. She hasn't. She's just drawn the comparison, hasn't she?
I think it looks awful.
Why?
It looks just cheap and nasty and tacky.
The problem is, in this country, if you are proud to be English, you are seen to many people as being a racist, and that for me.
Who said that?
A lot of people. Okay, I'll give you an example.
No, but that's not the conversation. No one here is. She's not mentioned racist. We've not mentioned racist. That's not.
But there is a perception. I think it was Steve 2 days ago who phoned up saying all the English football players that they are racist thugs, every single one of them. So there's this perception that if you're proud to be English, if you're flying the flag, well, you're a bit chavvy, you're a bit scummy. If you want to go and do that, that's entirely up to you. Not my cup of tea personally. I'm proud to be English. I wouldn't fly the flag outside my home, but each to their own. That there's absolutely nothing wrong with flying the flag.
But I think I want to stay away from the racist thing because that isn't the argument here, and I think that's misleading, and I think in some ways it's slightly lazy because it looks horrible. If you see, you should look at the state of these flags. They look flipping horrible. He obviously hasn't got any respect for the flag.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he wouldn't have hung it like that.
So, am I taking that image to the streets, asking people, let's just get people's first reaction.
There we go.
You've seen that image. What do you think of it?
Beautiful,
there you go.
Justin. Thank you very much indeed. Kelly Betts, BBC Introducing. Who we got?
It's Natasha North. She's from Sear Green. She's wonderful. I went and watched her perform in an old church last night, and she was absolutely brilliant. And just, everyone stood up and clapped at the end.
That's what they do?
Actually stood up.
Wowzers. Standing ovation.
Standing ovation, yeah. Like, woo, yeah. This is her track Fire. It's been playing all week on 3 Counties Radio.
Smoke is lifting, you are leaving. place names anywhere. We are done. You're on the run. My fight's begun. Damn this fire. Damn this fire. I'm sick and I am bruised by you. And I'm trying to escape your views. The devil is your friend now. I am choking across the line. 'Cause the door is locked and I'm trapped inside. So damn this fire. Damn this fire.
That's Fire by Natasha North from Sea Green in Buckinghamshire. If you want to hear more, BBC Introducing, where and when, Kels?
Saturday night, 8 p.m. here.
Oh, that's simple. Pat's in Houghton Regis. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning, Ian.
What would you like to say, sir?
What a great day to wake up to another UKIP victory, eh?
Why is it so great?
Well, democracy in action, isn't it? You know, when people have had enough.
It's a beautiful thing.
They can use the ballot box to tell the other established parties they've had enough.
What do you think that the people who voted UKIP yesterday, what are they saying to the other parties?
Well, we keep saying about it, you know, our country's being flooded by immigration all the time, and it's a pressure on all our resources, including the hospitals.
Right, so what is UKIP's stance on immigration? Because the fella who won, Reckless, the other day he was saying they were going to send a lot back, and then in the speech this morning, he said, oh, no, I didn't mean that, they're all welcome. So what do you think they're going to do?
Well, if I was to vote UKIP, which I may do, my stance on what Reckless said was, who cares? I don't really care what he said. All I know is...
But hang on. He's a UKIP MP, so what he's saying is the UKIP line. So what do you think the UKIP policy is on immigration?
Well, put it this way, I don't know much about the other policies of all the other three parties because they seem to change and when they're in...
Well, hang on a minute. Farage is changing all the time. Like, he was filmed the other day saying that he wants to privatise the NHS and working on an insurance-based system, and then he said, oh, no, actually, I don't mean that. So they're changing all the time as well, aren't they?
Ian, you're sounding like a Conservative or Labour MP that's in government at the moment you're asking me this question.
I'm sounding like someone who's just saying all of the things you've criticised the other parties for, UKIP have done recently as well. What's their policy on immigration?
Ian, if they've got a policy on immigration which means they're going to curb immigration, and I don't know their policy. It doesn't matter to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Well, obviously it does. That's the problem, Pat, because you just said you brought up immigrants and you're going to vote for UKIP because of immigrants, but you don't know what their immigration policy is. Interesting, isn't it? 08459 455 555.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Into High Wycombe on Marlow Hill. It's looking heavier than usual on the cameras on Marlow Hill around the junction for High Wycombe. In Bricket Wood, the North Orbital Road's looking heavy around the M25 junction 21A roundabout, and it's also looking very busy in Boreham Wood on the Barnet bypass. It's queuing southbound between Barnet Lane at the Stirling Corner and the Mill Hill Circus. Elsewhere though, it's looking fine on the M25, and the A1M has no reports of any delays and no reports of any delays showing up on the train departure boards either. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Samantha. Are you pleased with the UKIP result? It's interesting, isn't it? Because Pat brought up migration, said he'd vote for UKIP because there are too many immigrants here, but he doesn't know what their policy is on immigration. Is that interesting?
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 7 o'clock, I'm Lee Agnew. The headlines: UKIP wins the Rochester by-election, a Hertfordshire woman fights eviction from her family council home, and Stevenage out of the FA Cup.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The UK Independence Party has its second elected MP after winning the Rochester and Stroud by-election. Mark Reckless, who defected from the Tories, won the seat with a majority of just under 3,000. The Liberal Democrats came fifth with just 349 votes. The Conservative chairman and Welwyn Hatfield MP Grant Shapps says they can win the seat back.
During the course of this campaign, the gap's closed. I think we've ended up with about 7% lead for Mark Reckless. They were predicting something at over twice that level. So 2,900, not a big majority now to try to win back in 170 days' time.
A woman is facing eviction from her family home in Stevenage following the death of her mother. Gemma Sheldrick says even though she's lived for the past year in the house, the council won't let her stay. Tony Fisher has more.
Gemma says she moved into the council home in Bronte Paths in June last year after her mother Sarah was diagnosed with cancer. Her mother, who paid all the bills and was the registered tenant, died in July this year. Stevenage Borough Council says that because Gemma can't prove she's been living there for 12 months, they've given her notice to leave.
Hospitals say there's been a big rise in the number of patients going to their casualty departments. Over the past week, both Bedford and Stoke Mandeville hospitals have had no more beds available. But Peter Gibson from the Eastern North Herts NHS Trust says the Lister Hospital will cope, even if numbers rise further.
It is a real challenge, but we've just obviously opened our brand new emergency department. It's twice as big as it was before. The capacity's increased. We've got more wards behind it. And it's not so much the attendances that matter, it's the level of admissions. So what we're actually seeing is a higher percentage of more sick patients coming into the emergency department.
Central Bedfordshire Council's demanding that the decision about a huge house extension in Barton is made in public. Planning inspectors who said the extension could stay have been told to consider the application again. Conservative councillor Nigel Young says although they gave Syed Shah permission to alter his house, he went well beyond what they agreed he could do.
We're pressing the Department of Communities and Local Government planning inspectors to actually hold an inquiry in public for this so we can put our case and Mr Shah can put his case. But ultimately, if the outcome goes the way we would want, because it has not got planning permission, he has to return it to what the original planning permission agreed.
In sport, Stevenage are out of the FA Cup after losing 2-1 to non-league Maidstone United in their first-round replay last night. The home side got the winner with just 3 minutes left on the clock. The weather will be bright at first, but turning cloudy with outbreaks of rain. Top temperatures around 10 degrees Celsius. That's 50 degrees Fahrenheit. You can get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/Three Counties.
Today on BBC Three Counties Radio.
From 9.
The JVS Show.
With the big phone in, the hottest topic of the day, and your consumer problems.
From 12.
Nick Coffer.
In the lovely Buckinghamshire town of Chesham, as our big tour of beds, hearts and bucks continues.
From 3.
Roberto Peroni.
I'm here with a roundup of the day's news, the latest travel, and your stories.
From 7.
Mark Forrest.
I'll bring you the best bits from everything that's been happening on BBC Local Radio.
Today on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning! Iain Lee's here, Catherine Boyle's there.
Hello.
What's on the show this morning, Kath? Busy this morning.
Elections, evictions, and...
Oh, what's it going to be? What's it going to be?
Demonstrations.
Thank you very much indeed. UKIP won their second seat yesterday. How does that make you feel? You happy? You excited? You sad? You scared? What? We just had Pat on. Pat was saying that well done to UKIP, and there are too many immigrants, and he'd vote for them. Doesn't know what their policy is on immigration. 08459 455 555. Another political story, front page of The Sun. Shadow Attorney General, former Shadow Attorney General, tweets a picture of a house with a white van outside and pictures of the St George's Cross flying. It looks awful. I think it looks awful.
She drew a connection with the UKIP vote, didn't she?
Yeah. She wrote, image from Rochester, where UKIP were last night set to win a key by-election. But she has been forced to stand down.
Is that a fair connection to draw?
Well, is it a fair connection? I think everybody's kind of just a little bit trigger happy at the moment. You know, should she have stood down? 08459 455 555. And where have you seen Peter Stringfellow, or as we're calling him,
Actual Stringy?
Actual Stringy.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Actual Stringy.
We were having a spot of lunch yesterday. You made the mistake of letting me sit facing the window.
I thought it'd be nice. You've not been to London before. I've been loads of times. Used to live there.
I've been to London a few times, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
OK, I may not be from there.
Yeah.
But you don't have to rub that in.
You stood out like a Japanese tourist with a load of cameras around their neck.
What are you talking about?
Talking racial stereotypes.
Well, that's very rude. Anyway, so I'm looking out the window because you're very interesting over dinner. And I saw a man outside who looked a lot like Peter Stringfellow.
Yep.
So I was going to call it a stringer-like. I went, look, Stringy. And then I realised it was actual Stringy.
She got so excited.
I got so excited the people on other tables started craning their necks to see actual Stringy.
Yeah. So when have you seen actual Stringy? 08459 455 555. Texas.
I've got a text on Stringy.
Hey.
I was doing some maintenance work, says David in Kempston, in a posh apartment block on the Albert Embankment in London last year. Peter Stringfellow was working out at the gym there with his instructors with towels encouraging him. Not just one.
Wow.
Instructors.
Yep.
I couldn't believe how short he was. He did look a bit of a prat.
Yeah. I've met Stringy. He's a nice fella. He's always been very polite to me. I think I had dinner with him once. I seem to remember sitting at a table and eating with him.
The mane is still there. It's now white and straight, and he doesn't have the little crop of spikes on top anymore.
No, that's gone. Sarah Furley says on Twitter, I knew his godson whilst at uni. His name was Rudy.
I bet it was.
I bet it was. Robbie's in Watford. Morning, Robbie.
Morning, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Ever seen Stringy?
No, never.
OK, what have you called in for, sir?
I was just calling about this UKIP by-election. I think it was interesting listening to Pat, what Pat was saying, is that, and I think it's kind of systematic across, I don't want to kind of label all UKIP voters together, but I think it is systematic across UKIP voters, is that they don't actually know what the policies are, and it's because UKIP doesn't really have any solid, concrete policies. They're kind of opportunistic in how they deal with politics. The fact that their two MPs have come from defection to the Conservative Party, and to be honest, it's quite clever. They know that if they start from the ground up, they're not going to get anywhere quickly, and so they look at insecure seats and approach the politicians about defection. And so if you could say to a politician, if you defect to us, you're going to keep your seat. If you're going to say people are disassociated with your party and they're going to leave, they're going to defect. And I think the fact is that they're so unclear about what they actually stand for. No one really knows, but they have a license to be unclear because they haven't got any real solid basis of history.
But Robbie, they have. I mean, it's brilliant hearing the Tories try and play it down. Well, they were expecting to get a majority of 7,000. They only got a majority of 3,000. Yeah, they got a majority of 3,000. It's significant. And the Tories threw everything at that. And the Lib Dems got 349 votes. So whether you agree with UKIP or not, they've certainly they've kicked the other parties into touch in this one, haven't they?
Oh, absolutely. And you've got to give them credit that actually they've managed to reach a body of voters who are going to vote for them. The question is that I think that UKIP are I would put them down as they've gone from being kind of a pain in the neck to kind of a significant nuisance to any party in power at the minute. But were UKIP to get in power, there would be serious issues, steering clear of the whole immigration thing. The fact that they don't have any real solid policies for anything.
Robbie, listen, we've got to move on, but thank you very much indeed. 08459 455 555. I would imagine that a significant number of UKIP voters, and I'm imagining, you can prove me wrong, think that the policy on immigration is to shut the doors and kick them out. Is that their policy? I don't know. 08459 455 555. Now, a woman is facing eviction from her family home in Stevenage following the death of her mother. Gemma Sheldrick says despite the fact she's been living in the property for the last year, the council won't let her live there. Well, your mum was rather special, wasn't she, Gemma?
She was.
Tell us why she was so special.
She worked very hard for the community. Even through her illness, she carried on trudging through Dog Watch, which she made successful over quite a few years in the end.
What's Dog Watch?
Dog Watch is a community organisation. So basically, it's the eyes and ears of the community. People can report things easier. We organise events for people to all get together and raise awareness for some charities as well. It's all about kind of raising awareness of the community and trying to bring the Safer Neighbourhood Watch team.
And she was honoured by the Queen, wasn't she?
She was. She did get a British Empire medal.
Do you get to meet the Queen for that?
She did, yes.
Oh, I bet she was very excited. I bet you're all very, very proud of her.
We were very proud of her.
Now, unfortunately, she got ill. When did you know that she was ill, and when did you realise just how serious it was?
Well, she was battling cancer all throughout all of her dog watch events, obviously more in the more recent year. And we found out a bit earlier this year that the prognosis was worse than what we originally thought. And she was given, I don't know, kind of worst case scenario was going to be about 6 months, and about a month and a half later she passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry. And you've been living with Mum for how long to help her out?
It was just over a year, yeah.
And what kind of stuff were you doing when you were there with her?
I was just supporting her. My mum was a very independent person, and like I say, she trudged on and kept going on with her community things like that, still try and keep involved. So she was a force to be reckoned with. So it was quite a shock, because you always think that someone's going to be able to beat it when there's someone like that. But,
yeah. My dad was a big fella, and he got cancer, and he kind of similar situation. And just to see them kind of shrinking in front of you is it's heartbreaking, isn't it? It's a horrible thing.
Yeah.
Well, the situation is now that it's a council house. Is it a house or a flat? Sorry.
It's a house.
It's a house. And how long had your mum lived there?
I think we moved there when I was probably about 2 or 3. So that would have been about 22, 23 years ago.
And you were hoping that you could take on the house once Mum passed away?
Well, as far as I'm aware, if you've been living there for 12 months or more, you can succeed the tenancy. I mean, my mum was dying, so my main priority was looking after my mum. So things like ins and outs of her sorting out some paperwork stuff of putting me on tenancies and things like that wasn't something that was our priority. But the fact of the matter was, I was living there for over 12 months, or 12 months just over, as their policy is that I can succeed the tenancy. Now, obviously, it's a difficult time anyway for myself and the rest of the family because of my mum, and obviously they've recently awarded her, after she passed away, the Pride of Stevenage Awards. So they're doing that, and then at the same time they're trying to get me out of the house, and it's very difficult because it's a difficult enough time as it is. So they asked me to provide evidence, which I sent in to them. They booked a panel hearing for me to go and appeal because they weren't too sure, and they decided that they'd cancel it.
Why did they cancel the hearing?
Yeah, they booked the hearing, and they actually made quite some effort to book it in the first place. And then after about 2 weeks of booking it, they cancelled it.
Did they give a reason for that?
No, they said that there was not sufficient evidence. However, they had booked that with all the evidence that I'd sent them before.
What evidence had you sent them?
It was my savings account details that were registered to that house, and also my birth certificate as well.
Right, because the birth certificate isn't going to show that you've lived there, is it?
No. I don't really understand.
Thought they wanted that, did they?
Yeah.
The Stevenage Borough Council, they're not coming on. They've been a bit slack in terms of talking to us. They've sent us a statement. Let me read you their statement, Gemma.
Okay.
In order for anyone... You've probably heard something like this before. In order for anyone to take over a tenancy, we ask for evidence showing us that they've lived at the house for 12 consecutive months before the date of death.
Yep.
As Miss Sheldrick has not yet been able to provide this, we ask that she contact our housing advice team, who will be able to offer her advice and guidance on her housing options.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do?
Well, Stephen McPartland, the MP, is actually helping with this, and he has been advising, and also obviously he's been helping out as well, and he's going to be helping by going to the Housing Ombudsman as well, because they're not actually going by their own process. And I'd already actually met with a tenancy advisor who advised me that we would need to go to a panel hearing because of the situation. And they booked, like I say, they booked it, and then they cancelled it. And I'm only asking for my panel hearing, which is my right to actually attend and do.
You still pay rent on another property, don't you? Why couldn't you just go back there?
No, I don't.
You don't?
pay rent on another property.
Okay.
No.
Listen, Gemma, it's a really interesting one. Can you keep in touch and let us know how it goes?
I can, yeah.
I really appreciate your time this morning, and again, I'm really sorry for your loss as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gemma. Oh wait, it's as I say, it's funny. Funny's not the right word. It's funny, isn't it, when someone passes away? All of the boring, frustrating form filling that you have to do, and you just want to grieve. You just want to mourn the fact that you've lost someone. And you've got to go and fill in forms and take certificates to show people. And oh dear. Your thoughts on Gemma's story, please. 08459 455 555. BBC Three Counties Radio. Let's get the travel.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
In Bricketwood on the North Orbital Road, it's looking a bit slow around the M25 junction 21A roundabout. And checking the speed sensors, it's looking quite slow into Hitchin as well on the A505. The A41 is looking slow just past Berkhamsted and into High Wycombe on round Marlow Hill. Through the roadworks, it's looking quite busy around there at the moment on the cameras. Having a look at the CCTV on the main motorways, the M40 is moving well at the moment, but it's starting to build up where it meets the M25 round junction 16. There's no reports of any problems though on the trains. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Samantha. Right, it's 7:17. Gosh, we're a little bit late. It's Friday, the 21st of November. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. UKIP have beaten the Conservatives in the Rochester by-election. Stevenage Borough Council has told a woman she can't stay in her council home after her mother passed away. And in sport, Stevenage have been knocked out of the FA Cup by non-league Maidstone.
BBC Three Counties Radio. Nick Coffer across beds, hearts and bucks.
This afternoon I'm joining up with the big tour and going to Chesham.
I think it's a little hidden away jewel in the Chilterns, to be honest.
I'll be based near the Clock Tower, hearing from Shed at the Park about their drama group for young people. Having a taste of some of the amazing local beers on offer. And finding out about the gorilla knitters who've made Chesham extremely colourful.
Nick Coffer.
Live from Chesham today from midday, here on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
So is the face of British politics changing? UKIP have won their second parliamentary seat. I was keen to get your thoughts on it, really. Are you happy? You're sad? Are you worried? How does it make you feel? 08459 455 555. We've had a couple of, confusing calls about UKIP and their policies. Well, I'm pleased to say that Nick Lincoln has called in, who's the UKIP's prospective parliamentary candidate for Watford. Morning, Nick.
Hello, Iain. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'd imagine you dispute our previous caller who said that UKIP have no policies.
Robbie from Watford, potentially one of my voters. I do categorically. We have a range of policies.
Let's start with immigration then. What's the UKIP policy on immigration?
Okay, well, just a bit of context. We are not opposed to immigration per se. We are opposed to mass, uncontrolled immigration. We think immigration is a good thing for a country. Our policy on immigration going forward would be a points-based system, as they have in Australia. So you can come to this country if you have a job to come to, if you can speak English, if you have accommodation lined up, and if you have health insurance arranged. And you can come from anywhere in the country. We don't discriminate upon your geographic origination, your colour, your ethnicity, your religion, but you must have things that you can add to this country.
So what skills? What point? What would you get points for?
You would get points for things such as, do you have the job that you're looking to do, the qualifications that you have, do they lend you to a career here where we need those kind of occupations?
What occupations do we need?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you.
But so you want to introduce a points-based system where you'd be awarded points if you had the skills for occupations that we need, but yet you don't know what the occupations are that we need?
At this stage, I don't know. I couldn't off the top of my head what the occupation, but there would
hang
be
on,
things...
but Nick, you're saying you've got a policy on immigration, but it turns out it's a half-thought-out policy. It sounds good. Points. You'll get points, but you don't know what you'd give those points for. So you haven't got a policy on immigration.
No, I was quite clear. We would give out points for those people that have the skills for those occupations that we need in this country. I can't
what occupations? Well, Nick, it's not off the top of your head. You're UKIP's prospective parliamentary candidate for Watford, so I'd expect you to know this. What would you get points for?
I imagine there'd be these occupations where we have shortages.
For example?
Occupations where we have shortages.
For example?
Skilled areas such as doctors. Doctors, people in IT, architects, accountants.
But do we need people in IT? Have we got a shortage of people in IT? Have we got a shortage of accountants?
We have a shortage of people with skills. We always do have a shortage of people. But
do we have? You mentioned IT. Do we have a shortage of people in IT?
The IT market is extremely competitive.
Do we have a shortage of people in IT?
I do not, off the top of my head, whether you have a shortage of people in IT.
So we'll scratch that.
I'm being honest with you.
Do we have a shortage of accountance?
Look, Ian, I'm addressing the question of what is our overall policy on immigration.
You're not answering the question. You said that UKIP would introduce a points-based system. What would you give points for skills that we required? What skills do we require? You don't know.
I'm being completely candid with you. I do not know to that
You're
degree.
A prospective MP for UKIP and you don't know what their policy is.
I think the bigger question to address is here. How are we going to control migration? What are we going to do with the European Union migrants that are already here? And I want to categorically state on record that if people are here legally, they will be allowed to remain here legally when we leave the European Union.
That goes against what Mark Reckless said, doesn't it?
Mark Reckless handled the question rather...
He said Mark Reckless. Well, no, he said that he suggested that migrants who've lived in the UK for several years could be turfed out. Is that UKIP policy?
No, it's not.
Why did a UKIP MP say that?
I guess because we're all human. You know, we're not perfect. We make mistakes, and he made a mistake, and it wasn't a well handled. But our policy is categorical.
But listen, you can't. The thing is, if you are a prospective MP. And you know that you represent a party that some people perceive as being racist. Certainly, immigration is a key factor in that party. To not know how the point system would work, to suggest that migrants who've been here, lived in the UK for several years, could be turfed out of the country, those are pretty big mistakes to make, aren't they, Nick? And you could see, surely you could understand, why that would give fuel to those people who think that UKIP doesn't have a policy on migration and is a racist party.
I would think that a lot of people would say, thank goodness there's a party talking about immigration and we're addressing these issues and we're not trying to budget or hide away from this key issue, which is, if you speak to anybody on almost any doorstep, it's something they raise, whatever their political background.
Exactly, but you don't know what the policy is.
I'm giving an overlay of the policy. I'm not a policy wonk on this particular issue to the degree you'd like. I'm holding my hand up. What I'm saying is...
But you're a prospective parliament. Why would anyone...
It's very clear.
No, it's not. Well, it's not clear, though, is it, Nick? Because you said you'd have...
It's absolutely clear, because if people ask me, what do you do with EU migrants that are already here, our policy is totally clear. If you are here legally now, you can stay legally here. So if you're here illegally, you will be deported.
Mark Reckless was wrong 2 days ago, then, when he said that migrants from who lived in the UK for several years could be booted out. That was wrong. That was a lie.
Mark Reckless was wrong, and I've always said that.
But then why did he say that?
Because he's human and we make mistakes. To clarify the point, if you're a migrant here and you're here illegally, you will be deported.
OK, but just to clarify, Mark Reckless lied when he said that migrants who've been here legally for several years would be turfed out. That was a lie.
Was that like, OK, someone asked me the time, and I say it's 7:15, the time is 7:16. Am I a liar or just incorrect?
Well, I don't know. Was what he said a lie, or was he incorrect?
He was incorrect.
OK, so it's as close to the truth as being a minute out telling the time. So it's a fine line. It's kind of how you phrase it. And just to clarify, the UKIP policy on immigration is you can come here if you've got the skills that we need. You'll be awarded points. Unfortunately, you don't know what those skills are that we need.
Because we're not in power now, and we won't be in power maybe till 2015 or later, and then we would need to look at it. And
so you wouldn't look at it. You wouldn't look at it before you were in power. You wouldn't clarify that.
But we would be applying it when we were in power. It's the same system they have in Australia. So it's already up and running. It does work.
So you kind of finalise the policies once you're in power. You have the broad sweeping brushstrokes, but you really nail down those policies once you're in power. That's how it works, is it, in politics?
To be honest with you, I know what you're referring to. It does a lot of the time, and it certainly does with our party, because when we announce policies in detail, the other parties come down and take them and pick out the bits they want and then put them in their manifesto. So this year, we are holding back as long as we possibly can before we announce things in detail.
You'll know more about this than me, Nick, because you're the one that wants to introduce the points-based system based on Australia. Hasn't Australia seen more immigration since they introduced a points-based system?
They may well have seen more immigration.
So your policy would bring
migration they want.
Your policy would bring more foreigners into this country.
No, why? Because that's what happened in one country. It would happen here.
Well, you just cited Australia 3 times, I think, as being the system that you're modelling it on, and they had more people going into their country. So, kind of ipso facto, it would imply that we'd have more people coming into this country if you're basing it on the Australian system.
Yes, but the Australian system is based on the Australian economy and on the Australian structure. They may well have more skill shortages than we have. I can certainly tell you that we have migration 250,000 people a year.
Right.
I'd be very surprised if any points-based system got anywhere close to that number.
OK, but you still don't know. You still don't know what the skills are that we need to fill.
Yes, for the fourth or fifth time, off the top of my head, I do not know, and I've said that right from the start of this conversation.
OK, thanks very much. Nick Lincoln, UKIP's prospective parliamentary candidate for Watford. Did that fill you with confidence? 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. Does that fill you with confidence? They do have a policy on immigration. They'll sort it out once they get into power. They'll hone it down once they get into power. Steve's in Dunstable. Morning, Steve.
Morning.
Does that fill you with confidence, what Mr. Lincoln was saying?
Well, I know what you're saying, but I suppose I don't know enough to really sort of comment on that side of it, but I'm not really into politics. I ain't got that up there yet.
You ain't got that up there yet? OK, Steve, well, what would you like to say?
Right, we need to shut the gates on immigration, or make it into a trickle of immigration, and pump all the money into getting the people off the dole and training them to do the jobs that these so-called immigrants are doing. I mean, we don't need low, unskilled immigrants coming to this country.
Well, what skills do we need? Nick was saying that there'll be a point.
Doctors, IT.
Well, is there a shortage? Is there a shortage?
Construction industry. There's a shortage in the construction industry.
Hang on a minute. Sorry, there's a shortage in the construction industry. I thought you.
But we got 2.5 million on the dole. Surely we should take people off the dole, spend the money, and then have maybe immigrants come in. We don't need them here. It upsets the fabric of communities as well.
You ever been to a hospital?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. Ever been to a care home for the elderly or the infirm?
No, not yet.
Right, well, I have, unfortunately. I go to one quite regularly. And if we didn't have Polish immigrants coming and working, particularly in care homes...
I don't care what you think. Right?
No, Steve, Steve, let me give you some facts, OK? And then you can come back. You don't. Let me say it. Steve, let me say it, and then you can come back. That's how a conversation works, right?
Is that right?
Yeah. If we didn't have Polish immigrants working in care homes wouldn't be able to sustain themselves. So we need them.
Made their own people. Surely if we made the people on the dole cut their benefits by half and make them work, then surely why is everyone going? Why are all the people going abroad? All the bosses going abroad to get cheap labour? We've got labour here.
I don't want people who've been forced to work wiping my mum's backside. I don't want people who've been forced into a job they don't want to do, giving my mum her medicine, Steve.
It's educating them, saying that work pays. The dole doesn't pay.
I don't want people who are... I want people to care for my mum who actually care and are enthusiastic about their work, not people that are there begrudgingly because they've had their benefits cut.
No, it's not begrudgingly, but we need to educate our own people to get off their backsides and do it, like we used to do. When I was 19, whatever, the dole never even come to the equation. It was just get a job, earn the money, get a car, get a girlfriend, get married and all that palaver. The dole never come into it. We need to change the attitude of our own people so they can realise that they can't be sitting on the dole and we don't need all these immigrants here.
Steve, thank you very much. Again, I suggest that we do need a significant number of immigrants because, it's a simple thing. Most of the carers in my mum's home are Polish. There's a couple of Japanese, bizarrely. I don't quite know what that's all about. But I want people, most of them are enthusiastic, they care, and they want to do their jobs. You can't force people into that kind of job because, well, they won't do it very well.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the M1 southbound, there's been an accident between the Tardington services and Junction 11 for Dunstable. That's causing queues at the moment from Junction 12 for Flitwick. On the M25 anti-clockwise, it's looking slow around Junction 19 for Watford on the speed sensors. And having a look at the roads in Watford, on Beecham Grove, it's starting to look very busy around Escourt Road. In Borehamwood, the A1 Barnet bypass is queuing southbound between the Stirling Corner and Mill Hill Circus. And having a look at High Wycombe, into High Wycombe, it's looking very busy on Marlow Hill. There's no reports of any problems at the moment on the trains. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 7:30. I'm Lee Agnew. The headlines. The UK Independence Party has its second elected MP at Westminster after winning the Rochester and Stroud by-election. The Liberal Democrats lost their deposit with just 349 votes. A woman from Stevenage who cared for her mother until she passed away is now fighting eviction from the council home where they lived. Stevenage Borough Council says Gemma Sheldrick doesn't have the right to stay there. And there's concern that casualty departments are struggling to cope with a growing number of patients. Over the past week, Bedford and Stoke Mandeville hospitals have closed their doors because no beds were available. The weather will be bright at first but turning cloudy with outbreaks of rain. Top temperatures around 10 degrees Celsius, that's 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Stevenage are out of the FA Cup after losing 2-1 to Maidstone United in their first-round replay last night. Borough boss Graham Westley admitted their non-league opponents were the better side. John Southall was watching.
A famous night for Maidstone United. For the first time since they reformed in 1992, they're in the second round of the FA Cup. The hero, the plasterer Franny Collin. He headed in 3 minutes from time, his second of the game, to send the Gallagher Stadium delirious. The final whistle was greeted with a pitch invasion, and for a club who've suffered more than most, who went out of business 22 years ago, it was a sweet moment. Next up, Wrexham away in round 2.
Stevenage play Northampton tomorrow, while Watford face Championship leaders Derby. Luton travel to Burton Albion and Wycombe play Cheltenham. It's the MK Dons against Port Vale, and Dons manager Carl Robinson says he's already told his strikers which of the next 5 games they'll be playing in.
I spoke to them both yet on Tuesday. I said, is this better for you? And Ben went, it's great, because now I know I can work harder on this day, knowing I'm not starting on that day, but knowing I can prepare for this day. Means that I know I've got 25 minutes of a come on there, that I know what I've got to do, because I've watched, and Griggy said exactly the same. He said, I said to the team, what would you prefer? And they went, no, this is the way we want to do it. So it's working.
Lewis Hamilton says he doesn't feel under pressure ahead of the title-deciding Abu Dhabi Grand Prix this weekend. Hamilton leads Mercedes teammate Nico Rosberg by 17 points and needs to finish second if Rosberg wins to secure the title. Hamilton says his familiarity with the circuit could work in his favour.
It's a great circuit. It's generally suited the car that I had when I was back in McLaren years ago, and it's definitely a track that's had suited my driver style in the past, but every year is different, and I hope to take that positivity into this weekend.
And practice begins at 9 o'clock this morning. BBC Three Counties News and Sport with more at 8 o'clock.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Sorry, girls, did I interrupt a chat?
Not a chat, no, some research.
What
Stringy research.
Have you seen Actual Stringy? We saw Actual Stringy, Peter Stringfellow himself, the Lord of the Lap Dance.
Yes. I thought he was a stringer-like. Turned out he was the actual Stringy.
He got turfed out of a restaurant that we had seats in.
Yeah.
Kiss
snooze,
my
you lose. You snooze, you lose, Stringy. He probably had a lie-in after a late night. Yes, probably that.
So your Peter Stringfellow stories, please. What other bits and pieces have we got, Catherine,
Loads
as you wipe
of
a bogey off your face?
It's not a bogey. I've just got really itchy nose. I'm coming down with a cold, so...
Oh, I don't, because I'm coming down with a cold again. Everyone in my house yesterday has got a sore throat and coughs and colds. And I had you know that thing, this is horrible, when you've got kids and you're kind of face to face and you're talking to them, and they just cough in your open mouth. It is the most. I was going, boys, please, I cannot afford to take another week off work with a lost voice. And you feel something hit the back of your throat.
I love your boys. They'll be doing that up until they're 50.
I'll send you the video of bath time later on, see if you still love them. So I cannot afford to take any more time off work. Anyway, Catherine, what have we got any texts?
We've got loads of texts.
Right.
John, I have nothing against people from the EU coming here to work, but it should be capped. It's those who have no intention of working that should be stopped, says John.
Okay.
100% agree with Steve. Well said. Anonymous.
Steve, just for those who don't remember, Steve said we should basically send them all back. We don't need them over here. And I think I put up pretty good defence of at least one industry where we do need foreign people.
It's a pity that if you really believe something, you don't put your name on a text.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Helen in Milton Keynes, unfilled vacancies in engineering, IT, education, nursing, GPs, construction, etc. You should watch BBC One today as they're discussing a lack of engineers as just one example.
Oh, hang on a second.
Busy?
A lack of engineers. Hasn't Rolls-Royce just sacked, I'm going to pluck a figure, haven't they just sacked 5,000 engineers? We can find out, but so we've got a lack of engineers, have we? Okay.
Well, hang on. Helen goes on to say a common or garden PPC for any political party would not know the details of any policy. I've questioned numerous PPCs in the past about policies regarding state pensions, NHS housing, etc., and not one of them have been able to do anything but waffle about broad stroke policies and never ever the details. Helen Milton Keynes.
If I was going to be an MP, and who knows, guys, you might be lucky enough to be able to put your tick in my box. If I was an MP, do you know what? I would flipping study. Every spare second, I would study the policies. I would speak to the policymakers. I'd make myself a nuisance so I knew those bad boys inside out.
One might conclude that some parties thought they were so safe they didn't have to do their homework. You might.
Give us one more, then we'll move on.
Phil said, worrying thing about UKIP not having defined policies is that a lot of the electorate do not care and will simply respond to newspaper headlines. It's a bit scary.
OK, thank you very much. You can text. I prefer the phone calls because we can have a proper chat. And listen, this is not me kind of dissing you. I'm not dissing. I'm not telling you who I would have voted for. I'm not telling you any of that. The question is, does the vote, the election yesterday, the by-election yesterday, UKIP won, does that fill you with optimism, fear? How are you reacting? And one of the conversations that has sprung out of that is, well, that came from Pat, if I remember correctly, that people voting for UKIP because they think UKIP stands for one thing, but actually, we don't really know what UKIP stands for. I don't know. Maybe you do. 08459 455 555. Other things. Red alert levels have been reached at 2 A&E emergency hospitals in Beds, Herts and Bucks before the main winter peak period. Patient admissions to accident and emergency reached the highest red alert level at Stoke Mandeville and Bedford this week, while other hospitals in the three counties report that their admissions have risen. We can speak now to Eileen Doyle, who's Bedford Hospital's Chief Operating Officer. Morning, Eileen. How is Bedford Hospital coping with the current situation?
Well, Bedford Hospital is busy, and it's been busy all summer going into the winter. So, as my colleague said earlier, we would normally see a pattern of slightly less attendances and admission during the summer period before we ramp up into what is usually historically our busiest time. But first, I'd just like to say that even on red alert, we don't close our doors. So red alert means that we put extra sets of measures in to try and cope with the demand so that it doesn't escalate any further. But A&E is always open.
Does that involve, because we've heard from some other stories not related to this over the week, of people waiting in ambulances outside. Would that happen at Bedford?
It doesn't happen at Bedford. We struggle sometimes with the numbers of ambulances coming in, and we work very closely with the ambulance service. We've seen this year compared to last year almost an 8% increase in the number of patients coming in by ambulance, but we always do our best to make sure that they're certainly not outside, but that we take handover for the crews so that patients are in a comfortable place.
On a basic level, I've never understood this, Eileen. You have a finite number of beds in a hospital. If you get a massive rush of people who need beds, how do you... I've never been able to work out how one would cope with that.
Well, we have always got winter escalation beds, and I think most hospitals around the country would always plan for winter. Ours are already open,
right.
So it is a struggle matching the numbers of patients coming in to the numbers going out in a day. And sometimes we have to fix into beds that we wouldn't normally use. So, for example, some of our surgical bed capacity, we try not to do that because it's important that patients get their operations as well, because that's an important feature. But when we go into red alert, which is not unusual, I have to say, say, most places would tip into that. And it's a dynamic thing, so it can go to red and then back down to amber and then back up to red. But what we do when we're under pressure is we talk and we work very closely with our community partners, our social services colleagues, and our clinical commissioning groups, because hospital isn't the only answer for some patients. So there are lots of community services, and we try and encourage people to visit their GP, visit their local pharmacist, call NHS 11 and ask for advice rather than thinking, coming straight to A&E. So we ask people to think, is A&E for me? And that way we manage it. And most hospitals around the country, actually, this is a daily thing. You're quite right to say, well, how do we actually balance it? But one way or another, we do get through. And quite often that does mean opening extra beds, but we try and plan for that.
Do you still get people turning up at A&E who really should just go to a GP or a walk-in centre? Because that must be quite frustrating for the staff.
I think we do get an element of those patients, but of course they perceive their need to in a different way. And so we try and encourage and make sure that people know that there are alternatives. But we are a 24/7 service. We're always open. And there's an inevitability about patients coming to A&E, especially if they perceive that they won't be able to get a GP appointment or there's not another alternative. So it's really working together with what's out in the community and with our local GPs to make sure that we can offer all sorts of services, not just hospital.
Eileen, I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you. Eileen Doyle, Bedford Hospital's Chief Operating Officer. It's interesting they use surgical beds, isn't it? One of my Greek cousins, who's a doctor, is listening now. Morning, Dimitri. And I've never got my head around. You talk about immigration. You talk about EU immigration. I've just had a WhatsApp from Greek Dimitri, who's a doctor in this country. He's a flipping good doctor as well. In Greece, they have so many doctors, they didn't know what to do. Whereas if you go to Los Angeles, you get served. You're always getting served by an actor, or you're getting your car cleaned by an actor. In Greece, you're getting served by doctors. They have too many doctors.
The same was going for Spain a while ago. That's why we end up with a lot of the nurses over here.
Isn't it funny? Dimitri's, we should be grateful we've got people like that who can't get work in their country and come over here because he's a flipping good doctor. But I've always wondered, you've got a hospital, you've got, let's say, 500 beds, that's it. What if you've got 600 patients? How do you juggle it? It's crazy, isn't it?
I just realised what I said made no sense. We've got a lot of Spanish nurses over here because they have a lot of doctors and nurses, I believe.
Right.
Just for anyone who's a pendant.
Let's go to John in Milton Keynes on UKIP. Morning, John.
Morning, Ian.
Are you happy that UKIP won yesterday?
Yeah, I am actually. Yeah, I think they've got a very on the radio this morning, the guy wasn't particularly clear, but I understand what they're trying to do, and I agree with it. I agree with the point system entirely.
How does it work, though?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, Ian, to come up with a list on the radio on the fly was a bit difficult for him to do because it is an extensive list. It's a huge list which probably needs to be formulated.
But he wants to be your MP, and it turns out it's not an extensive list because he couldn't think of any. It's interesting, John. You said he didn't really make it clear what he was talking about, but you agree with him.
Well, it didn't make it clear as far as the list that because it is an extensive list, and I mean, as far as because I worked over in New Zealand and they got a point system, right?
What is? You keep saying it's an extensive list. He couldn't name one thing on the list.
Right, OK, well, I mean, when I went to New Zealand, their list includes, like, architects, builders, plumbers, electricians, and all the trade stuff.
Well, all the builders will be kicking off saying we've got too many poles over here doing the building.
Yeah, all the trade stuff over there. But as far as, I mean, there is always going to be, like, a shortage in certain fields, isn't there?
For example?
I mean, that's what they're really getting at, isn't it?
But
that's
for example, what? I don't know what those fields are.
Well, I don't know either. I don't know either. What I'm saying is, Ian, there is a list, no matter who knows what it is or not, there is going to be a list of skill shortages, no matter how we look at it, yeah?
I don't know how long Australia has had the point system, but I'm reading an article from December of last year, and it says the number of migrants has increased by 28% in Australia in the last year. They're getting, since they introduced the points-based system, they're getting more foreigners going in. So if we carry that over here, UKIP is promoting a policy that could potentially get more foreigners in. You'd be happy with that?
Well, I would be happy with that because as far as getting the right people in, I mean that's what UKIP are on about. That's what's that guy's name was on the radio? I've forgotten his name now. Yeah, I mean that's what he was on about, wasn't it? I mean getting the right people in, the right quality of people in, as opposed to the numbers of people in. I mean I'd be happy as a taxpayer knowing that my money is going towards formulating a point system. right? I'll be happy with that. I really would be happy with that. If I got like a note coming, from the government saying like 5% of your tax money is now going to go towards employing staff to go through a point system, to formulate a point system.
You'd be happy with a system that would increase immigration into this country. You'd be happy with that?
Yeah, I wouldn't be against it.
John, thank you very much indeed. I'm just finishing, so I want to squeeze in Lynn. Morning, Lynn.
Good morning, Ian.
What would you like to say?
Well, I was very interested to hear what he was saying. I also have worked abroad, and I've heard about the point system.
Yeah, so it's a point system that in Australia has brought in more immigration than before.
Yeah, which is good if you're bringing in the right kind of people.
Who are the right kind of people?
Well, I think skilled people to start with.
Well, what skills do we need?
Well, that's what you have to look on the government website for.
Well, the government website doesn't tell you what skills we need, does it?
When you go to different countries to work, you look what jobs are available, and because in countries like Australia and Malta, you can't take jobs from people from the country that need them.
But the thing is, if UKIP would introduce this policy if they got into power, bearing in mind they've now got 2 MPs, so there are now 2 members of Parliament who you would think would know the immigration policy, but they don't know it because it hasn't been settled. 2 days ago, Mark Reckless was saying that migrants who've been here a few years legally could be booted out. He's had to come back and apologise for getting that wrong. Their policy is to introduce a points-based system, but they don't know who we need. Can you not see, Lynn, that is foolish?
Yes, I can see that. But, on the other hand, it's a good idea to have a point system so that we get people
It's a good idea.
It's
a good idea to have a car. It's a good idea. It's a good idea to have a car that's run by a special tablet. I've thought of that. I've just not through the fine print.
Don't let anybody say anything. You're going off on a rant.
Well, no, Lynn, because you're talking. You
no,
know,
I'm not. You don't let anybody say anything.
Lynn.
I think it's a very good idea to have some sort of system in this country where we can monitor who's coming in. And
we do have a system where we monitor the people that come in.
No, we let anybody in.
No, we don't. Lynn, we don't let anybody in.
Oh, we do.
No, we don't.
You don't have to have a job to come here. You come here, and they would say, our government now is saying, oh, we might bring in a thing where 3 months you don't get any benefits.
But Lynn, what you've just said is we have to go in a second because we've got the travel. But what you said is incorrect. We don't just let anybody in. That's not how it works.
We've got so many unskilled people in this country.
But Lynn, just address that point. We don't just let anybody in. We don't.
Well, I disagree with you.
Well, but you're disagreeing with the fact.
No, I do think
we just let anybody in.
Skilled people in.
Anybody from any country can just come into this country, can they?
Can't. No, not.
Well, then thank you very much. At last, you've seen that what you said was incorrect. 08459 455 555.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the M1 southbound, there are delays because of an accident between the Toddington services and Junction 11 for Dunstable. It's causing queues to Junction 13 for Bedford at the moment. It's because of an accident hitting the Central Reservation, and the emergency services are there on the scene at the moment. On the M25 anti-clockwise, it's starting to look very slow around Junction 19 for Watford, and in Watford, Exchange Road's looking quite busy at Beaton Grove. In Borehamwood, looking at the Barnum bypass on the cameras, is queuing southbound between Stirling Corner and the Mill Hill Circus. And into High Wycombe on Marlow Hill, it's looking very heavy at the moment on the speed sensors. Also starting to look busy in Beaconsfield on Park Lane. We've not had any reports of any problems on the trains if you're commuting into London this morning. Samantha Breath, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much indeed. 7:47. If you want to give us a call on that. And just to clarify, we don't have a country where just anybody can come in. It doesn't work like that. 08459 455 555. Let's get the news now. UKIP have beaten the Conservatives in the Rochester by-election. Stevenage Borough Council has told a woman that she can't stay in her council home after her mother passed away. And some shopkeepers in Luton say they'll be closed tomorrow while a demonstration by the English Defence League takes place. More of your calls coming up. Let's get the weather. Here's Kate.
Beds, Herts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
No, we've not swapped that quickly. It was Sarah an hour ago. It's still Sarah. Hi, good morning to you. We start this morning with temperatures somewhere between 4 and 6 Celsius across the three counties and quite a bit of cloud. And the story for the day is that we'll stay fairly cloudy through this morning, and then we've got some outbreaks of rain to move in through this afternoon. They come in from the southwest, crossing off towards the northeast, with us about 2 o'clock this afternoon. In the meantime, the temperatures really don't rise that much. much. Just 7 Celsius, the top temperature for the day today. But once the rain clears away by about 7 o'clock this evening, we'll start to see the temperatures rising as some milder air pushes towards us. For tomorrow, we're looking at a mild day, but outbreaks of rain right the way through the day tomorrow and into Sunday. Top temperature through the weekend, 12 or 13 Celsius. And we continue with this outbreaks of rain on Monday morning too. It will be cooler though behind, with some brightness eventually developing and a top temperature of 8 Celsius. But for the weekend, outbreaks of rain right the way through both days.
Thank you very much.
BBC Three Counties Radio's big tour of beds, hearts and bucks.
Quite a quaint, pretty little town, really. I think it's a little hidden away jewel in the Chilterns, to be honest.
All this week, we're celebrating Chesham.
I've lived here nearly 83 years, in the same house.
Everybody that lives here absolutely loves the place.
And full of characters. Telling everyone about where you live.
It's small enough to be friendly, but it's big enough to have quite a few things.
Quite an interesting place, really. Quite enjoy living here.
Chesham! The big tour of beds, hearts and bucks from BBC Three Counties Radio. Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Sorry, I thought you... Joe Godwin's not happy.
Oh dear. Well,
Yeah.
he's not the only one, or she.
He. Well, there's a picture of a man or a woman. It's an he, so it's an he. I'm sat in the backlash of a crash on the M1... And you're talking trash, he doesn't say that. And you're talking politics on a Friday morning. Annoy Catherine and cheer me up.
Go on then.
Your moustache is looking good this morning.
Oh, you devil.
Your hair makes you look like Elliot from the film E.T.
Yeah.
Oh.
Remember when she sneezed?
I don't remember that. Hang on.
It's in October. I'm going to sneeze. Sounds like a whiplash, doesn't it? It's in October. I'm going to sneeze. I'm going to sneeze. If you stick anything out of your window, you're asking for attention.
You annoyed yet? Come on, get annoyed for Joe Godwin.
Oh, Joe. Oh, you. Oh. Is that okay?
Sound like you're straining one out. Jamie's...
How do you know what that sounds like?
Jamie's in Dunstable. Morning, Jamie.
Morning.
What have you got for us?
I was just saying about the... I understand about him prepared...
Jamie, we're going to have to... We'll try and get you back, because I want to hear what you're saying, but it's an awful line. Yeah, you're doing the Norman Collier, and we can't hear a single word that you're saying. And I want to hear what you're saying. So we'll try and get you back a little bit later on, maybe when you've pulled off the road. Jamie. That would... that was a shame, wasn't it? 08459 455 555. Yeah, go on, let's have some texts.
Here's Andrew having a moan. Why?
Why?
Double why.
Why?
Continually smother people when they try to make a point. For God's sake, what are you frightened of? Saying or agreeing the wrong thing?
No, I'm just...
correct? You and JVS are both guilty of attacking the ordinary person's view just because I believe you are frightened to agree on air. Remember, although you've won an award, your existence as a radio presenter relies on the public contacting you. Andrew.
No, it doesn't. I could totally do the show without you contacting me, but thanks. No, the thing is, when someone is saying something that is incorrect, that is factually incorrect, I have to interrupt, because you can't then base the rest of their argument on a lie. It's a lie that this country lets everybody in. We don't.
Can I also point something out, Andrew? There are lots and lots of radio stations where they'll have a debate. Well, it's not really a debate. They'll have someone come on and the radio presenter will listen to them, probably disagree, but they won't engage with them. They'll probably say, well, thank you very much for your point. That was very interesting, when they don't mean it. That's not this show.
And she was more than that. The thing is, we're also constricted ever so slightly by time. If that lady wants to call back, she's more than welcome to. So I was kind of moving it on. But she was basing her argument on a flawed, incorrect premise. This country does not just let everybody in.
Mark in Bedford says Iain is wrong. Any person from within the EU is allowed to enter the country, as there are no controls on this.
No, Mark, I'm correct. The country does not let anybody in. What's weird about doing this job, particularly when we talk about something that people get so passionate about, for example, UKIP and immigration, is that people hear what they want to hear. Mark is filling in his own blanks there. I didn't mention anything about members of the EU coming in. I said, to contradict the lady who called in, she said, this country lets everybody in. We don't. That's a fact.
There is freedom of movement within the EU.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We weren't talking about that. So that, you're hearing what you want to hear. Listen, it's really good you're texting in. I love it. This morning, I think it's one of those conversations where we need to have phone calls. It's better if, and I will back down a bit and let you make your minds up. But I'll let you put your point across, sorry. But it's one of those shows, one of those topics, one of those conversations where it needs to be a conversation. It needs to be a dialogue, duologue, monologue, dialogue. So give us a call. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. Tracy's in Buckingham. Morning, Tracy.
Morning.
What would you like to say?
I work for a healthcare agency, and we interview dozens of carers and nurses who cover nursing homes and supported living and hospitals in Buckinghamshire, Oxfordshire, Bedfordshire. So many of the applicants that come in have got no care background at all.
Right.
So we turn them away. So many of them also have had a few months' experience for working for other agencies. So there are plenty of carers in nursing homes across our counties who've come from a non-caring background. So for the argument you had, or the discussion you had a short while ago with the gentleman who said about having people, you said you didn't want somebody looking after your relatives in a care home with no experience.
No, I didn't say that at all. Again, it's someone else filling in the blanks. Didn't say that at all, Tracy.
No care, who wasn't a caring-minded person.
Didn't say that.
So,
Tracy, I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, didn't say that.
What did you say?
Well, I mean, I can tell you, but it's another example of someone hearing what they want to hear. What Steve was suggesting was that we stopped people's benefits and we forced them to go and work as carers. I said, I don't want somebody who has been forced to work in the caring industry working as carers. That's what I said.
I think, though, that people coming to this country are choosing the care industry as one of the industries as an easy option.
Oh, it's such an easy option, isn't it? Wiping disabled people's bums when you've got dealing with people who have got dementia and are violent. You're right. It pays so well, doesn't it, Tracy? You're right. That is a very, very cushy job.
It's a job that they can easily get into with no experience, and they're not care-minded people. They're not the caring nurses that we had years ago.
Tracy, it is one of the... Listen, if you work in the industry, you know it is one of the crappiest jobs there is around. It is a horrible job to do because they have to do disgusting things. They have to do terrible, terrible things, and they get paid awfully. To say that it's an easy option for them is outrageous. And again, you've ignored the point that what you phoned up to criticise me for, I didn't say.
I was making the point that there's plenty of people working in care homes who have... You were making the point that I'd said I didn't want people with no experience working in care homes, when that's not what I said at all. I said I don't want people who've been forced to work in care homes to work in care homes. And you'd agree with me that makes sense, doesn't it? It does.
Thank you very much, Tracy. 08459 455 555. Tony's in Harlow. Morning, Tony.
Hello, Ian.
What have you got for us?
Just the same subject, really. The thing that gets me is if people are in countries where there's no work and or they feel threatened in their own country, why do they come through so many EU countries to get to England? Doesn't that tell you something?
Yeah, it tells me they probably speak English. It tells me that they've got relatives over here who've done well. I mean, the thing is, the EU migrants, they don't just come to England. They do go to other countries.
Well, it doesn't seem like that.
No, it doesn't seem like it because you live in England. You don't live in Italy. You don't.
In Calais. Look what's going on in Calais. We've all in. It's just the group is just getting bigger and bigger, and all they're interested in is getting to England because we're an easy.
Okay,
but we're one of the only countries that give out money. I bet anywhere else you go, you don't get no money.
Okay, but there are loads of EU migrants in Spain. There are loads of EU migrants in Italy. It looks like they're all coming here to you, Tony, because you live here and you see them. 08459 455 555. I don't know what the figures are for EU migration. They're not going to go to Greece, are they? However beautiful it is, however great the souvlaki is, they're not going to go to Greece because there ain't no work. Stop. Listen, if we're going to have this conversation, we're going to do it properly, so you need to listen to what I'm saying, OK? I'm being very specific about certain things. 08459 455 555. And I'm surprised at Tracy. If she works in the industry, suggesting the care profession is an easy option? Are you kidding me?
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
There are delays on the M1 southbound after an accident between the Toddington services and Junction 11 for Dunstable. Queues are tailing back to Junction 13 for Bedford at the moment, and emergency services are still on the scene. Having a look at the M25 Junction 21A roundabout, that's looking quite slow on the speed sensors, and the M25 anti-clockwise is also looking very slow around Junction 16 for the M40. Elsewhere in High Wycombe on Marlow Hill, it's looking very heavy into town, and it's also starting to look busy in Beaconsfield on Park Lane around there. And on the speed sensors on the A5 approaching Hotcliffe, it's looking quite slow at the moment as well. We've not been told of any delays that will cause you any hold-ups on the way into London on the trains this morning. Samantha Ruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. So many things to talk about, and the one that's got you hot under the collar is this UKIP success in the by-election. We'll take some more calls after the news with Lee.
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 8 o'clock, I'm Lee Agnew. The headlines: UKIP wins the Rochester by-election, a Hertfordshire woman fights eviction from her family council home, and Luton shops to close while the EDL stages a protest.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The UK Independence Party has its second elected MP after winning the Rochester and Strood by-election. Mark Reckless, who defected from the Tories, won the seat with a majority of just under 3,000. The Liberal Democrats came fifth with just 349 votes. The UKIP leader, Nigel Farage, says it means the general election is wide open.
Anybody that now tries to attempt to predict what will happen next year, frankly, is wasting their time. It is now unpredictable, beyond comprehension. I mean, this was seat number 271 on UKIP's target list. We've shown here that if you vote UKIP, you get UKIP, and I think the consequences are very difficult to predict.
A woman is facing eviction from her family home in Stevenage following the death of her mother. Even though Gemma Sheldrick's lived back in the house for the past year, the council won't let her stay. Gemma says she's not been given the chance to prove she was living there.
As far as I'm aware, if you've been living there for 12 months or more, you can succeed the tenancy. My mum was dying, so my main priority was looking after my mum, so things like ins and outs of her sorting out some paperwork stuff of putting me on tenancies and things like that wasn't something that was our priority.
Hospitals say there's been a big rise in the number of patients going to their casualty departments. Over the past week, both Bedford and Stoke Mandeville hospitals have had no more beds available. Bedford's Chief Operating Officer, Eileen Doyle, says there are steps they can take to cope with high demand.
It is a struggle matching the numbers of patients coming in to the numbers going out in a day. When we go into red alert, which is not unusual, I have to say, we talk and we work very closely with our community partners, our social services colleagues and our clinical commissioning groups, because hospital isn't the only answer for some patients.
Some shopkeepers in Luton say they'll be closing their doors tomorrow ahead of a demonstration by the English Defence League. Despite the police urging them not to close, they say they don't want their windows broken and are prepared to lose £2,000 worth of trade.
I'm closed. All day closing. I don't want a headache. We are losing £2,000. Yeah, it's very bad. Police say don't close a shop. They look after. But I'm not interested. They sometime broken my glass.
In sport, Stevenage are out of the FA Cup after losing 2-1 to non-league Maidstone United in their first-round replay last night. The home side got the winner with 3 minutes left on the clock. And practice for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix gets underway in just 1 hour's time. The weather will be bright at first, but turning cloudy with outbreaks of rain. Top temperatures around 10 degrees Celsius. That's 50 degrees Fahrenheit. You can get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3counties.
BBC Three Counties Radio's big tour of beds, hearts and bucks.
Quite a quaint, pretty little town, really. I think it's a little hidden away jewel in the Chilterns, to be honest.
Telling everyone about where you live.
Bustling, unique, friendly place.
All this week, we're exploring Chesham.
One of the great things about Chesham is everybody lives close to it, so most people can actually walk into the town.
The big tour of beds, hearts and bucks. BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning. Very busy morning. I can see Catherine working. She's doing one job. I think that sign means. Busy show this morning. It's one of those shows. I'll be honest with you. It's not been the greatest week in terms of news, in terms of way we've handled some of the news, in terms of me. And then today we've got like a week's worth of news and phone-in ideas in one show. Let's have a little recap. UKIP is the big story, that they won their second seat in the Houses of Parliament in the by-election yesterday. Just trying to gauge the mood on that, whether that excites you, scares you, pleases you, just your thoughts on that. We've ended up talking about UKIP's policies. Turns out no one knows what their policies are, particularly the ones about immigration. Even a prospective parliamentary candidate for UKIP is a little unclear on the fineries of it. 08459 455 555. Kind of on the off to a tangent on that story. Front page of a lot of the papers. A Labour MP tweeted a picture of a house in Rochester that's got 3 union flags hanging out the front. The implication being it looks a bit chavvy. Well, I think it looks a bit chavvy. 08459 455 555. A woman who looked after her mum as she died of cancer. Lived in the house for a year. Council house. She was hoping she would get the council house. The councillor said, Oh, and there's an EDL march happening at the weekend in Luton. You see what I mean about lots of stuff?
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Busy, isn't it?
Quite a bit, yes.
Lots of calls to get to. Before we dive in and I get a battering from people who've heard things that I haven't actually said, you got any texts, Catherine?
Yes.
Go.
Some
please.
of them haven't heard what you...
Oh, okay, go on.
Paul, OK, looks like your views are the only ones that matter this morning, so we should all accept this and move on. Maybe try understanding callers' views instead of belittling them.
No, not belittling them. This is the thing. Listen, I do let people speak, but if they are basing the whole premise of their argument on a mistake, a lie, an incorrect fact, I have to correct that fact. Otherwise, the whole argument is pointless.
Dan in Milton Keynes, I for one am happy about UKIP winning another seat. The political landscape in the UK is changing and the powers that be seem oblivious to it. So maybe the only way for them to realise that it's not working is for UKIP to win more and more seats. That's from Dan in Milton Keynes.
The 2015 election, I never thought I'd say this, is going to be well exciting. It's going to be really exciting because everything could go up in the air. Anything else? That's not too rude about me. Really, I'm just...
Well, if people aren't putting their names on it, so I'm kind of reticent to read them out.
Yeah, I'm never a fan of the anonymous text. Do put your name on it, please. Otherwise, you probably won't get read out. 81333, start your text 3CR. Put your name on it. Ian's on the M1. Ian, you wanted to talk about the flags.
Hi, Ian. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. What you got?
These chavvy flags, you only see them when there's not... I'm talking about when there's not a football competition or the Olympics going on.
Yep.
The only place you see the St George's flag out of a window is in a council flat or on council estates. And they are chavvy. There's no doubt about it. So you're completely correct.
Why do you think that... Why are they chavvy and you're humble?
Because why on earth would you want to display a flag in your window? It's madness. Why would you want to do that? Can't understand the point. To show that you... I'll tell you where I saw a flag recently, and it wasn't an English flag, it wasn't a St George's flag, it's a place called Corby, where there's loads and loads of Scots, and it's not a particularly nice place, but you see a lot of Scottish flags in council flat windows. Why? What's the point? can't understand it. Is it some sort of boasting about their national identity? I can't understand why you do it. But you only see it, where I'm saying, in chavvy areas.
Ian, thank you very much indeed. Your thoughts on that, please. Ian saying there, you only see the flag of St George or any national flag in chavvy areas, council flats and council estates. And also, I'm phrasing this very carefully because I'm waiting for the phone calls from people who didn't hear what I just said, who thought I said something else. I have phrased that very, very carefully. You will have heard something else, some of you. Want to give me a call? 08459 455 555. Remind us of the story about Gemma and her mum's house, because we've got a caller on that, haven't we?
Gemma, 25 years old, had lived with her mother again, moved back in with her mother into their family home to nurse her through her cancer. Unfortunately, her mum didn't make it. Gemma wants to stay in the house, but the council say that because her mum was still on the rent book and she had not been left any kind of tenancy agreement, her name's not on it, there's no proof she's been living there for a year, which is what's required for that kind of inheritance of a tenancy.
We're keen to get you... I mean, if we hadn't been doing the UKIP stuff, this one would have flown, I know, but...
Something that was brought into it is that the mother had done an awful lot for charity. She'd got a British Empire medal.
Oh,
She'd also been...
she met the Queen.
Had given a posthumous award at the Pride of Stevenage. And Gemma made the point that there are all kinds of people working the system. Here is a family that's done its bit for the community and they're not getting cut any slack. Do you think they deserve to be cut some slack?
David's in Milton Keynes. Do you think they deserve to be cut some slack, David?
No, good morning. Well, I don't know. It's tricky because if she's moved there for over a year, I was telling your researcher that you have to register on the electoral register by law. And obviously, if she's been there over a year, why isn't she registered? And the fact is that she left her previous tenancy. There must be proof where she left her previous tenancy.
Well, she's still paying the rent at her ex-boyfriend's.
Well, she said she wasn't paying the rent.
Right.
I asked her, because she said no, she wasn't paying the rent.
Yeah, well, I just think that she wants a house, obviously a house. But if, for instance, she wanted the property where her mother was, her mother could have then asked for a joint tenancy on there, put her name on there with it, with a covered saying her daughter's been there. But electoral register, she should have been registered.
You can understand why she might have let that paperwork slide, though, can't you?
By law, you're supposed to register under electoral register.
But you can understand why you might have let the paperwork slide, though, can't you, if your mother's dying of cancer?
Not really, no. I mean, I'm dying of cancer. And I've had to fill in forms, so you don't just let things go like that. If you've got the property and you moved in for over a year, she said, she could have registered on the electoral register. The third item was that... do you believe that a single woman should live in a big house, or a house, I don't know, two or three bedrooms?
Two-bedroom.
Yeah, two-bedroom house. The shortage of houses we've got at the moment anyway, she should have been offered a flat in place of it. But what I'm trying to say, her mother could have, and she could have done things like, for instance, saying, OK, I've got this. Mum, obviously I want to live here when you pass on. You've got to talk about them things. I'll put you down on the council's joint tenancy with my name on
Can I just say something, David? And this might be construed as being rude, and I'm trying to phrase it so it's not. You said something interesting here. You're dying of cancer. You say you're dying of cancer, or you've got cancer?
I've got dying of cancer. I've got to 15 months to live.
Oh, flippin' heck.
Paul Scoins knows about it and what I'm going through. Paul.
That rings a bell.
Yeah, it rings a bell. Okay, well, listen, I'm sorry.
I can't talk about it because I'm suing them at the moment.
Okay, so I'm not doing talk about it specifically, and I'm sorry to hear that. And maybe one day we'll get to talk about it. But in some ways, this is going to sound awful, David, and I hope I can have a conversation about it. In some ways. Am I going to phrase it like this? Yes, I am. OK, let's just jump. Let's put our chips on the table. In some ways, it's easier for the person who's dying of cancer than those around them. In as much as, quite often, though, and I'm not saying this is necessarily your case, this could be Gemma's case, the people that are around them have to sort out the business stuff. They kind of have to be minded of... They have to sort out the flipping funeral, generally. They have to be mindful of their house. Whereas the person who's got the disease... it's in some ways, it's easier for them to accept they've got the disease than those around it.
Can I go into this? Ian, I've paid for my funeral. I've told them what I want for my funeral.
Yep.
I've paid for my wife's funeral. My wife's got dementia.
Oh, blimey.
Right, yeah. I've done the will. I've actually gone now in front of a solicitor. I'm going through power of attorney for my wife's thing. I am not. If you're a caring person, you wouldn't leave anything to any of your family. No, Mum, she's
I disagree with that because sometimes it just comes up on you, and I don't think you can say, David, that if you were a caring person, you wouldn't leave this to your family.
No, you're responsible. I mean,
I don't think everybody is. I don't think that, and I don't think that means that they care less.
I think it's poor excuse. She could have registered. The forms come in to say
Okay, just ignore that point.
She said that she's got a bank account transferred to her house, hasn't she?
Okay, but I just wondered if you wanted to pick up on that specific point that sometimes it is harder for the people around the person who's got the disease.
Of course it is, but all people are individual. People accept things in a different way, and I'm a caring person, well-educated person, and I believe that obviously I wouldn't leave my family with stuff like that, and I've gone through bits and pieces, talked to my family,
okay, but some people don't. Some people aren't as well prepared for the inevitable as you are.
But go back to what I said, Ian, to do with the electoral register.
Okay, we'll ignore that point again. Go on, yeah.
No, let's go back to the electoral register. Why? I said she registered electoral register. It would have confirmed the fact that she'd lived there for over 12 months.
Because, well, David, listen, I'm going to move on because I want to speak to JP very quickly, but you seem to be, maybe I wasn't making the point clear, that sometimes it is easier for the person that is dying than those around them, I think. That thought has kind of just come to me. I know it's easier sometimes for people who have diseases, easier than it is for their carers. I don't know. 08459 455 555. JP, can we come to you in a couple of minutes?
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I know you've got a good story to tell us, and I want to make sure we get all of it. The JP is an immigrant, and I think he's going to let us know just how difficult it was to get to this country. Does that make sense, what I was saying, Kath?
Yeah, I think so.
Or is that completely heartless? No, it's not heartless.
There might be someone out there who has more insight than us, but I think it's a fair guess, isn't it?
08459 455 555.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the M1 southbound, there's still a lane closed between the Toddington services and Junction 11 for Dunstable, as causing queues from Junction 13 for Bedford at the moment. Emergency services are still on the scene there, causing some delays as you're travelling southbound on the M1. Having a look at the M25 anti-clockwise, and it's easing off now around Junction 19 for Watford. And also having a look around Watford, though, it's looking quite slow out of Watford on Stevenson Way at the M1 Junction 5. Elsewhere, it's looking quite slow in Hitchin on the A505, and the A41 is looking busy just past Berkhamsted. There's no reports of any problems, though, on the trains. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. It's 8:16. It's Friday, the 21st of November. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. UKIP have a second MP after winning the Rochester by-election. Stevenage Borough Council has told a woman that she can't stay in her council home after her mother passed away. And some shops in Luton will be closed tomorrow while the English Defence League hold a protest.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Tomorrow we'll feature two league leaders.
Great goal! And Miller has made the difference.
And two teams hoping to carry on winning.
Surely this is going to be number 5. It is number 5.
Watford host top of the table Derby.
Brilliant finish from the Jet, and that surely is the 3-point seal.
And Luton travel to Burton.
While MK Dons entertain Port Vale.
Now Dele Alli with a shot into the net.
With Stevenage going to Northampton.
Three Counties Sport.
Tomorrow from 2, here on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Great show yesterday.
Oh, thanks.
Great show. We're listening to that in the car. We missed a bit, but you filled in the blanks.
Right.
I would recommend, if you missed Jonathan's show...
Don't do this.
BBC iPlayer, about, 11:40...
well, it depends which bit you're trying to direct people towards.
Exactly which bit I'm doing. Jonathan, I love it. This is what you don't get from radio hosts, okay? When you're annoyed with a listener...
Good radio.
When you're annoyed with a listener, you let them know you're annoyed. And you let that fella... You let Ben yesterday know you were annoyed.
Yeah, I banned him. Banned him not only from the show, but the whole station I banned him.
It's about the last 20 minutes of the show. Go and have a listen on iPlayer.
No, it wasn't very nice, you see.
No.
Because Shayna was on about her dog treat.
Yeah.
And, you know, the audience were being very honest. You know, that's what I like about the audience here. They're very honest and upfront about whether she got a case or not.
Nope.
And then Ben just phoned up just to be nasty, and he called her a bad word. And I don't like that. It's not nice.
It's not nice. I'm laughing.
Why are you laughing? It's not nice.
I was listening in the car with Catherine, and we were both going, what did we miss? We just missed it. We just missed it.
Now I know what we missed.
Boy, I'm going to go on the iPlayer again, yeah. Thank you. But you handled it brilliantly, is the point I'm trying to make.
Oh, thanks very much.
You handled it brilliantly.
I thought it was horrible. Yeah. Unpleasant.
Yeah. What's in your show today?
On my big phone in this morning from 9, we'll... by the way, after 10, we'll be talking about the flags as well. I love that story we were discussing this morning.
Yep.
Common as muck. She should never have resigned. What's she resigned for, silly woman?
I don't understand what she's resigned for.
Purely tweeting a picture to show just how hideous some people with no taste make their house look.
She wasn't saying that. She was just saying this is Rochester where the UKIP might win. She wasn't...
Oh, yes, I forgot. I'm a guest on your show.
Yes.
And this is... You failed to control me.
No, I get the Ofcom and another BBC complaint. Thanks for that, Jonathan.
Anyway, at 9, we'll talk UKIP, of course. And I'll be asking, why do you think people voted for UKIP? Last night, UKIP won their second seat in Parliament as former Conservative Mark Reckless was voted in as MP for Rochester and Strood. Mr Reckless received 16,867 votes. That's 2,920 more than the Conservative candidate, Kelly Tolhurst. More than double the votes won by Labour and the Greens, and the Lib Dems...
349, was it?
They lost their deposit.
Isn't that incredible? The Greens got like 4,000 something.
They did. Well, they're on the rise, aren't they, the Greens?
Yep.
In his acceptance speech, the new MP for Rochester and Strood told the council... told the crowd, rather, if UKIP could win there, then they could win right across the country. Well, there definitely is something afoot now, isn't there? I mean, this is more than just a little bit of freaky voting. There's something very much going on here. But why do you think people voted for UKIP? From 9 this morning, we'll debate it. I'd like your reaction on 08459 455 555.
This is Iain Lee
on BBC Three Counties Radio.
OK, so we're talking about UKIP, we've been talking about immigration, and JP is an immigrant. Morning, JP.
Morning, Ian.
Where are you from, and what's your story?
So I'm from New Zealand originally. I just want to clear up a couple of points.
Go on.
Well, like you said, we don't just let anyone in, we being the UK. The problem the government's got at the moment is that they've, been promising to cut numbers down to, tens of thousands. It's still in the hundreds of thousands. The problem they've got, obviously, is that EU migrants are an open door. So, obviously, they can't cut those numbers. So what they're having to do, obviously, is make it tougher for people outside of the EU. And at the moment, there is a system in place. It's not a points-based system. But it's similar. There's certain hoops, certain criteria you have to tick, I guess, to be allowed in. Of course, there's different routes. There's family routes. There's highly skilled type routes, which is kind of what they've been talking about with the UKIP points system. So, I mean, it's not just an open tap coming in, but it is very, should we say, difficult for people outside of the EU.
Well, there was a caller whose name escapes me. She said that she based her whole argument on the fact that Britain lets anybody in, and that's simply not true. My brother-in-law is a Kiwi, and it was difficult. It was difficult for him to get citizenship here.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm in the exact same position. I've been here almost 6 years now through various visas. I now have an English wife. But since I married her, it was still, from that date, five years until I can get citizenship, and I have to reapply for a visa at 2.5-year intervals between that. Prove I still have a job, prove I can still support myself, things like that. So, I mean, it's not as cut and dry as people say. So there's that sort of side of the argument. There's also the enforcement side of the argument, which I believe, compared to somewhere like New Zealand or Australia, is lacking here in the UK. People can simply arrive under false pretenses and disappear. I mean, and they say they monitor these people, but that's kind of not true. You know, if people are picked up, you know, all they have to do, well, not all they have to do, but, you know, oh, I don't have a passport, okay, come in with it tomorrow to the police station, check in, and of course that doesn't happen and people disappear into the system.
JP, listen, I've got to move on. Thank you very much for sharing that. I love the Kiwi accent. It's much better than the Australian accent.
Of course it is, more refined.
Fish and chops.
Chicken chops.
Fish and chops is the Kiwi. Never going to go there, that's too far away.
I'd like to go.
Nah, I'd like to go, I'm not going.
How long does it take, 2 days?
Yeah, something like that. And then you end up there a week behind.
Busy, I'm a bit busy.
08459 4. I wasn't inviting you to go with me. I'm not going. So
No, I'm too busy to give up 2 days, that's all.
Bye-bye. Tomorrow there will be 2 protests taking place in Luton. The English Defence League will assemble and march to the Park Street area of town, and a static counter-demo will be staged in Francis Street by We Are Luton, the Muslim Defence League and Unite Against Fascism. Justin Dealey, you've been speaking to shopkeepers about tomorrow's route. What have they been saying?
Well, they're not happy. The protest itself, the EDL protest, that's going to be going along Park Street, a number of pubs and shops there. This shopkeeper, he told me he's going to be closed for the entire day and he will lose a lot of money. Take a listen to this. Robert, you run the newsagent here along Park Street. Are you going to be open on Saturday?
No, I'm closed. All day closing. I don't want a headache.
How much money do you normally make on the average Saturday?
£2,000 every Saturday. We are losing £2,000. Yeah, it's very bad. Police say don't close a shop. They look after. But I'm not interested. You know, sometimes they throw the bottles or something, broken my glass. Police, they are not pay the money.
So he's not happy. Who else have you spoken to?
Also been talking to Vikas Moyden. He's from the Luton Hackney Carriage Owners Association. The taxi rank on Park Street, that's going to be closed all day tomorrow, so people can't come to work in the day, and the drivers, when it reopens in the evening, they're fearful of coming to work. Here's what happened when we spoke yesterday.
They're not going to come to work based on the risk of their vehicles getting damaged in this whole protest.
The pubs are going to be closed, I believe, until 7 o'clock. Yeah. Once it hits 7 o'clock and the police start moving people on, will you then come back to work, or are you still fearful that there could be protesters in the town and there could still be trouble?
There's still going to be trouble. It's going to carry on all night. So basically, them pubs are going to be in danger of getting smashed up, and they're not going to go back.
How are people going to get home from Luton on Saturday evening?
I mean, the council need to think about that. They've given us, well, they said we're going to be working, but who's going to risk their cab getting smashed?
You're speaking on their behalf. How many people do you know that are going to come to work on Saturday evening, roughly? Anybody at all?
There might be a few coming for the livelihood. They're going to take the risk.
Can you try and put a percentage? Roughly, how many of these drivers do you think will turn up for work on Saturday evening?
We're about 10%, or even less than that.
Well, listening to that is Chief Inspector Mark Upex from Beds Police. Doesn't sound great, does it, Mark? Loads of workers not going to turn up.
I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case.
So he got it wrong, that fellow there?
We've done our engagement. We've spoken with the communities. Let me put in perspective what's actually happening. Firstly, the EDL and the UAF, they have a right to demonstrate. We can't stop them, so you can't blame the police and say they shouldn't be here. People have a democratic right to demonstrate and express their political views.
No one's blamed the police.
We're here to keep the peace. On the day itself, I believe there will be some disruption, minor disruption. I'm very confident Luton will be a very place safe to come and work and shop. And I would encourage people... No, let me finish. I'd encourage people to come here and work.
Mark, they've just said basically you're contradicting what the workers have said. They've said they're going to close their shop. Obviously you want them to come, but
I'm not contradicting. No, I'm not contradicting.
They've said they're going to close their shops and the taxi drivers aren't going to turn up for work.
Some people will close their shops. The Hackney Carriage has been moved over to Wellington Street and the Galaxy interchange. A lot of shopkeepers will be open. A lot of shopkeepers we've spoken to will be open.
And a lot won't.
And I don't know if it necessarily will be a lot. All I'm saying is, though, that's their choice to close.
Mark,
I can guarantee them it will be a very safe day to be in Luton. This demonstration will go ahead.
You can guarantee it will be safe. There'll be no injuries.
I didn't say no injuries.
You guaranteed it will be safe, Mark.
I said it will be a safe day.
Mark, what's your I don't know why you've come on with an attitude. No one's
come on with an attitude.
No one's criticised.
I'm trying to reassure people that it's going to actually be.
I don't know if you're doing the job though.
Well, why don't you think I'm doing it? What would you like me to say?
Well, no. You're just being a little bit aggressive, Mark. No one here has blamed the police.
I don't think I've been aggressive, and I don't think I sound aggressive.
Gosh.
I think you tried to present this in a way to suggest that there's going to be turmoil and trouble.
No.
I suggest the EDL will be away by about 5 o'clock.
No.
There's going to be plenty of police officers on the day, more than enough police officers to keep the town safe, and I think it's going to go really well.
Mark, at no point, I don't know what you've been listening to, at no point have we suggested this is going to kick off. We have spoken to shopkeepers and cab drivers who are going to close their shops and aren't going to turn up in their cabs. You've said that, you've come on, the first line you said was, this isn't the police's fault. Well, we've not said it's the police's fault. I don't know why you...
What would you like me to... What do you want to talk about then? Let's put that behind us. I don't believe I did represent myself in that way. I'm just trying to reassure people.
That's what you said. That's actually what you said.
That's because you actually said it doesn't paint a very good picture, does it? And I think there was a strong implication in this, is what are the police doing about it? And that's what I'm actually trying to explain.
Mark, I'm going to let you go, Mark. Thanks for coming on.
OK, no problem. Bye-bye.
Guys? Beulah? Did I just have a row with the Chief Inspector? I have no idea what happened. I didn't even want to do the bloody EDL story. I didn't even want to do it. I'm the one that says when the EDL are doing a march, I don't want to do it. I never want to talk about it. I don't want to give them the publicity. What on earth just happened there? There'll be a complaint. Boss, expect a complaint from a copper.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
If you're heading south on the M1 this morning, there are delays from junction 13 for Bedford towards the Toddington services. It's because of an accident there. A car has hit the central reservation and emergency services are there on the scene at the moment. In Watford, it's looking quite busy at the moment around the Stevenson Way out of Watford, and it's looking a bit slow on the A505 into Hitchin as well. Having a look at the rest of the motorways, we've not got any reports of any problems on the M4 or the M40. And for commuters heading into London this morning, we've not been told about any problems on the train so far. Samantha Breath, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 8:30. I'm Lee Agnew. The headlines. The UK Independence Party has its second elected MP at Westminster after winning the Rochester and Strood by-election. The Liberal Democrats lost their deposit with just 349 votes. A woman is facing eviction from her family home in Stevenage following the death of her mother. Gemma Sheldrick says she's not been given the chance to prove she's lived there for a year. And some shopkeepers in Luton say they'll be closing their doors tomorrow ahead of a demonstration by the English Defence League. Despite the police urging them to stay open, they say they don't want their windows broken. The weather will be bright at first but turning cloudy with outbreaks of rain. Top temperatures around 10 degrees Celsius. That's 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Stevenage are out of the FA Cup after losing 2-1 to Maidstone United in the first round replay last night. The home side got the winner with 3 minutes left on the clock. Refusing to blame the defeat on the 3G pitch, Stevenage manager Graham Westley praised his opponents.
They were more than a match for us over the two games. We played them on grass and we played them here. People talk about the surface. It's not about the surface. Their appetite and their attitude to winning, their know-how in terms of winning. They've got some good quality players there, lads who are way below the level they're capable of playing at, and they deserve to beat us.
And Stevenage play Northampton tomorrow, while Watford face Championship leaders Derby. Luton travel to Burton Albion and Wycombe play Cheltenham. It's the MK Dons against Port Vale. And Dons manager Carl Robinson says he's already told his strikers which of the next 5 games he'll be playing in.
I spoke to them both yet on Tuesday. I said, is this better for you? And Ben went, it's great, because now I know I can work harder on this day, knowing I'm not starting on that day, but knowing I can prepare for this day. Means that I know I've got 25 minutes of come on there, that I know what I've got to do, because I've watched, and Griggy said exactly the same. He said, I said to the team, what would you prefer? And they went, no, this is the way we want to do it. So it's working.
In motor racing, Lewis Hamilton says he doesn't feel under pressure ahead of the title-deciding Abu Dhabi Grand Prix this weekend. Hamilton leads Mercedes teammate Nico Rosberg by 17 points and needs to finish second if Rosberg wins to secure the title. But Hamilton says his familiarity with the circuit could work in his favour.
It's a great circuit. It's generally suited the car that I had when I was back in McLaren years ago, and It's definitely a track that's has suited my driver style in the past, but every year is different, and I hope to take that positivity into this weekend.
And first practice gets underway in half an hour's time. BBC Three Counties News and Sport with more at 9 o'clock.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
08459 455 555 is the telephone number. My apologies to Chief Inspector Mark Uplex there if he felt that he was slighted in any way. Never my intention at all. We've got people phoning up saying I cut him off. Didn't cut him off. It just wasn't working for me. I just want to ensure that I didn't even want to talk about the EDL. Let me just tell you this. When the EDL are doing one of their marches, I never want to cover it on this show, and I'm always outvoted, OK? I'm always outvoted. I never want to talk about them, never want to give them the oxygen of publicity, I don't want to address it. Don't want to address it. Let's let them, shrivel up, wither away and die, right? So we did it, because I was told we had to do it. We have spoken to some shopkeepers who are going to close their shops. We have spoken to some cab drivers who are not going to go do the cabs. At no point, I wasn't really listening to Justin Singh. I was kind of getting ready for the interview. I was reading through the questions. At no point did I blame this on the police
I was listening to Justin's stuff, and what he was doing was talking to people who didn't want to take the chance. That's all we were saying.
At no point have we said, it's the police's fault. Well, no, of course it's not. We live in a fantastic democracy where I think it's great that the EDL can march. I genuinely do. I think it's brilliant that they can march because it shows that anyone can march. I just don't want to talk about them. No, we're talking about them for flipping ages. They win again. But, Kev, I don't know. Did I completely misjudge that, Kev?
Yeah, I reckon he came on with total attitude towards you. For some unknown reason. I mean, you didn't give him ammunition as such to actually warrant it.
I suspect there'll be complaints later on in the day. Oh, well, another one to add to the list. Listen, and I can't believe we had a row with the Chief Inspector. I'm in trouble. Mark does a great job. The police here, I think, for the most part, apart from, one or two things that are being investigated, I think they do a great job. I think it's great that the police are going to be policing this weekend. I think it's a waste. I think it's a waste of money. I think it's a waste of resources. But they're doing their job. So... And we have spoken to people who are not going to be working on Saturday because of this.
As for that shopkeeper saying he doesn't want to open, I quite understand where he's coming from because the police cannot guarantee.
No, Kev. He can guarantee it's going to be safe.
Well,
apparently.
I guarantee you'll hear it differently Monday.
Well, Kev, thank you. I don't know. I hope we don't. They guarantee that can be safe. Will there be any injuries? Oh, I can't guarantee that. That's what safe means. Oh, he sighs heavily, knowing he'll be called into the boss's office to explain his actions and be told he's gone too far and he'll defend himself and his defence will be ignored. Paul's in Luton. Morning, Paul.
Morning, mate.
What you got?
Sorry, I never catch your name because you're so smart.
Yeah, exactly. I never give it out.
You know what, mate? I think you are unbelievable.
Why is that?
Because I listen to you every morning, right?
Yeah.
Now, this morning, I'll explain to you my situation. I'm like you. I'm very opinionated. And also, I've got an ABI. You know what that is, don't you?
No.
It's a brain injury.
Oh, right, OK. How'd you get that?
You've even overpowered my medication this morning.
Wow.
Come on. First thought was about the UKIP, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then suddenly you got stitched up with the EDL thing. But I'll tell you what you do is so clever. I reckon you've studied something in the past, mate. Yeah, because
I've studied video games. Does that count?
Well, I reckon you've studied mental health disorders or mind. You've pulled so many people out of the woodwork this morning. I should think hard beds and bucks will be at riot by dinner time.
Paul, you got any of that medication to spare? Because I think I could do with some this morning.
I said to the lady, you've overpowered it.
Wow, wowzers. So I'm better than drugs.
But you're a fisherman, you dangle the bait, and they bite though, didn't they?
Didn't they just? So someone on Twitter rather cruelly calls it moron fishing. I would never use such a phrase.
Moron fishing?
Yeah.
Oh, do you know what I would call it? There's a name for it.
Yeah?
I can't think of it because I'm not that brainy, but what it is, when you're trying to get something out of somebody, it's like being a policeman, you set the bait, and people fall for it.
Yeah.
And then they bite, and when people get het up, like they say things they shouldn't say and drop themselves right in it, don't they?
That's the way it works. Although with the copper, Paul, I don't think I said anything. And I genuinely,
I didn't hear that.
No, I apologise to the Chief Inspector if I did say anything that was misleading about the police force, that was disrespectful. I've got great respect for the police, right? And if I said anything that was rude or misleading or offensive, then I humbly apologise. Okay, I humbly apologise. All my dealings with the police, Paul, have been brilliant. Most of my dealings with the police have been brilliant. No, but I just picked up. There we go. Thank you very much indeed, Paul. But I just picked up an attitude there and an accusatory tone. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. I do. Yes, Iain points out he listens every morning, but he doesn't know your name. Yeah, I know. He's got brain injuries on a lot of medication. Can we get some of that medication from that guy, please? Are we allowed to?
No, I don't think so. I think that might be illegal.
Thank you very much indeed. We didn't get to talk about Jeremy Vine on his bicycle speeding, or I can make you psychic. I'm feeling I can make you psychic. I feel we need a little light, as it's been a very slim, shady show this morning. Clairvoyant Day 2, Stars Medium, shows how to use your own powers. I can make you psychic, and there's a picture of her with some really big stars. Tracy Emin, Kim Kardashian and Sunita.
Back up a minute.
Yeah.
Kim Kardashian.
Yep. Tracy Emin.
Yeah.
And Sunita. Yeah, she's a psychic to the stars. Spirit guides. Jane, she spells her the name Jane with a Y. There's a Y in there.
I think that's allowed.
Yeah, I know, but it implies mystical crystals and patchouli oil. Jane says we all have spirit guides. They're all around us. When I do a reading, my spirit guide will link with the spirit guide of the person I'm reading, usually a loved one they've lost. They give messages to my spirit guide. Tools like intuition... Sorry?
If your spirit guide is someone you lost, who was your spirit guide before? Before you lost them?
Maybe somebody else you lost.
Oh.
Or one of the Three Stooges, I don't know. Tools like intuition and sixth sense can help you to connect, and you need to be open to signs. If someone is trying to speak to you, the signs will be repetitive. When I smell tobacco, I know my dad is there. Or it could be an aftershave, a loved one. So aftershave, what you smell of when you die goes with you. What about Elvis? We all know where he died. Is that smell, I'd leave it 25,000 millennia. If you smell that but no one is around, you know it is the loved one. If you see a feather, it means a spiritual loved one is around you. Or birds.
Or a cat's had a pigeon.
When I see a ladybird or a robin, I always think of my mum.
Is she trying to contact me as well? Because I've seen ladybirds and robins.
When I see muddy shoes in my house, I think of my mum, because she would always tell me off for it. Kelly, sorry?
Maybe that lady's name was Robin.
Yeah, or her mum was a bird.
Or a lady.
Bird. A lady came to see me once, and a bumblebee got in our room. I pointed out, and she said, "It's my mum. She always come to me."
It's nature. Let's leave this and stop talking nonsense.
I think it's nice that people have things to remind them.
I tell you what, I noticed this the other day, because my shower's not working. I've got a filthy aura. My aura is filthy. Well, luckily it tells you how to cleanse your aura here. Sit in a quiet space with relaxing music and slowly breathe in for 5 seconds, then exhale for 5, advises Jane.
Should do it now.
Visualise a white light going around you. And as you breathe in, take in the white energy and feel it cleansing your body. Then exhale negativity and the strains of the day. I'd recommend doing it for 3 to 5 minutes every day. It's not cleansing your aura, it's just like a really basic meditation.
Sounds like having a cigarette, but without the cigarette.
Whoa.
Or just having to relax.
Angel cards, for goodness. Angel cards, Akbar.
Good morning, Iain.
Good morning, Angel cards, Akbar.
Iain, I was very disappointed with the attitude of the Chief Inspector you spoke about 5-6 minutes ago.
Yeah.
It appeared that he came to speak to you with a predetermined attitude that he was going to take you on, and that's what he did.
Chief Inspector Mark Upex from Beds Police, and again, I will keep saying this. I apologise if I in any way was loaded, was weighted, was anti-police. I had none of that. At no point I said it was the police's fault.
Ian, I don't think there is anything for you to say in defence of yourself, because you didn't say anything, and for that matter, I didn't hear anything that could have asked that.
Do you think, Akbar? Do you think? Yeah. Did it sound to you that the chief inspector had an attitude?
Yes,
right,
exactly.
Okay. And I think that is part of the... Akbar, listen, thank you, I'm going to move on. I think that is part of the problem with some police officers. I'm sure Mark just had a bad morning, that's fine. But with some police officers, they don't realise that they sound like they've got a negative attitude. They don't realise that they sound like that. And I don't know what you do about that, but I think that's why some people don't like coppers.
Can I just clarify, if anyone... I mean, the suggestion was that we were ramping this up. I don't think we were ramping it up. We'd spoken to a couple of people who didn't want to take any chances. I hope it does go safely this weekend. I hope it does.
Of course, the police are going to say, "Hey guys, come to Luton. It's safe," because that's their job and that's what they want to do. But we have spoken to some people. We didn't fake those people. We didn't make those people. They genuinely got in touch and said, "Yeah, I'm worried because the EDL are going to be here." And the other bunch are going to be here, and I'm worried about my business. And cabbies are worried, and they're not going to be working, some of them.
That guy was willing to forgo £2,000 worth of business.
Are we not supposed to report that? I mean, it's a story. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. Crystal Readings. I used to go to school with a girl called Crystal Readings.
Fibber.
I learnt how to do crystal readings.
No, you didn't.
Well, I paid a woman some money and I went to her house and Jane says the crystals choose you.
Oh, come off it.
So it doesn't matter how much you spend on them. You can even use bits of coloured card or ribbon, so not crystals. So the healing power of the crystal could come from a bit of card. What would you like to say? Each colour has a different meaning. The reader asks the other person to pick a crystal from a bag. If your friend picks pink, she needs to talk about her love life. Keywords for each colour: clear, spiritual; purple, intuition; yellow, gut; brown. I think we know.
I think we know what that stands for.
08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. More of your calls after this.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The M1 southbound is queuing from junction 13 for Bedford towards the Toddington services because of the accident there where the car has hit the central reservation, and the emergency services are still there on the scene at the moment looking at the cameras. Checking the A1M, and things are moving very well in both directions at the moment, and the M25 is moving well for this rush hour period as well, although it's looking quite busy on the North Orbital Road where it meets the M25 junction 21A roundabout. In Watford, Exchange Road is looking very heavy around Upton Road and Beech and Grove as well on the speed sensors, and into High Wycombe it's looking quite heavy still on Marlow Hill through the roadworks that are in place around there at the moment. There's no reports of any problems on the public transport this morning or on the trains. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. 8:46. It's Friday the 21st November. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. UKIP have another elected MP after winning the Rochester by-election. Bedfordshire Police say Luton Town Centre will be safe tomorrow despite protests by the EDL and Unite Against Fascism. And Stevenage Borough Council has told a woman that she can't stay in her council home after her mother passed away. Coming up, more of your phone calls. Let's get the weather. Here's Sarah.
Beds, Herts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, we've been talking about outbreaks of rain spreading into the three counties this afternoon, but actually we've got a little bit going to come in, I think, a bit earlier than that. Just looking at the latest radar picture, the area of rain has sort of expanded itself. And so I think late morning is when we need to start to cater for the risk of some outbreaks of rain. Initially, the odd heavier bursts mixed in, then drying up for a time, and then some lighter interludes through this afternoon. It'll be pretty cloudy then throughout, and the temperature's struggling a bit, 7 or 8 Celsius at best today, but warming up through the night, oddly. By tomorrow morning, we're at 10 or 11 Celsius as a southerly wind sets in and gives us some warmer air. Tomorrow, outbreaks of rain again, particularly as we go through the morning, and then later in the day, they'll become quite heavy. There will be some drier weather mixed in. Top temperature tomorrow, well above average for the time of year, at 13 or 14 Celsius. And we continue with rain for Sunday too. A pretty unsettled weekend then, Iain.
Thank you very much.
iPlayer leaves on the line and
overrunning engineering works.
iPlayer being told
Your call is important to us.
for the 50th time. iPlayer being kept awake by the local wildlife's nighttime activities for the third time this week. And iPlayer taking ticket number 93 just as you hear
Ticket number 7, come to the counter, please.
BBC iPlayer, BBC Radio and TV, always there when you need it.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Roshan's in London. Morning, Roshan.
Hi, morning.
Morning, what have you got for us?
Basically, I just wanted to ask, is the extremism only restricted for minorities?
I don't know what you mean.
So if the EDF is actually able to operate, I mean, obviously they are an extremist party.
In your opinion?
Yes. Whereas they are obviously not, they're not including all the other people.
No, they would say that they don't exclude anybody.
I mean, they just want English whites, aren't they? So obviously they don't class anybody else.
No, they don't.
Okay, so therefore, in my opinion,
No.
they're an extremist party.
No, well, they may be racist or not, but they will allow anybody of any colour or ethnicity to join them.
Oh, I didn't realise that.
Yep.
Okay, so what is this? What does the EDL stand for? I mean,
English Defence League.
Yeah, well, what do they represent?
I don't really know. I don't particularly like them, but they're not going around saying we should kill people or we should burn. They're certainly not saying it in public that we should kill people or anything like that. So they should be allowed to march.
Okay, I mean, in my opinion, I think they are a racist party.
Okay.
And therefore they shouldn't be allowed to operate.
Well, but hang on a minute. You didn't understand that anyone could join them. In what way are they racist?
I don't know. I mean,
well, then you can't say they're a racist party if you don't know how they're racist. You have to be able to qualify that.
Why is it all the shops are closing it down then?
Well, I don't know because they're. Well, I do know why the shops are closing because the EDL will be there, but also the other side will be there. Unite Against Fascism will be there, and when those two get together, it was Moida.
Right. Okay. I don't know. I think a lot of the people in the minority feel that they are a racist party, and I'm one of them.
But you don't know why, Roshan. You don't know why. I've already just said that anyone of any colour and ethnicity could join.
I don't see English. I don't see minorities are represented in the English Defence League, and that's probably why.
But there aren't particularly many minorities represented in Parliament. Doesn't mean Parliament's racist, does it? There aren't many minorities represented here. Doesn't mean we're racist, does it? They're allowed to join the EDL if they want.
Well, I would like to apply for join them and see whether they would let me join or not.
Roshan, if you did that and you recorded it, we'd probably play that on the radio.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks very much indeed. I think it's brilliant. I've fallen into their trap, Kath, because, as you know, I didn't want to do this story. I never want to do this story. And I've already spoken about them. We were going to give them 7 minutes, and I've already spoken about them for about 30 minutes now. But I think it's great that the English Defence League can march in this country. I think it's great that they can march in this country because it shows that we may not like the message, but people have the right to march and protest. Brilliant. Brilliant.
It's a shame it costs so much.
Yeah, but people are allowed to, and I think that's a great thing. Wish we hadn't touched this story with a big, long, dirty
See,
stick.
the worry we have is that we're advertising it.
Exactly, and now we are. Flipping heck, we've fallen into their.
Well, let's stop talking about it.
Stopped. Dealey.
You haven't advertised it at all.
We've just banged on about it for 35 minutes. I think it's a tedious story. No, I think it's a tedious story. I've got no interest in talking about them. We've just played totally into their slimy little hands by banging on about them.
No, I don't think so. I'll tell you why. I was at a protest back in 2011. There were, 3,000 people there that day. Tomorrow, to put this into perspective, 421 people on their Facebook page, the EDL Facebook page, have said they're going tomorrow.
Well, that doesn't mean anything.
It's a lot smaller scale, but
that doesn't mean anything.
Most people going to this march tomorrow will be from outside the patch. It's our duty as a local radio station, I believe, to tell people what's going on.
I disagree strongly with you. I don't think it's our duty to advertise the fact that the EDL are doing a march. And do you know what? I don't want to talk about it on this show ever again. I think it's a waste of time. It's kicked off with that copper. We've banged on about him for 35 minutes. I don't think it's our duty to give attention to that at all. At all.
I'm just saying that the people tomorrow going into
Justin,
Luton...
I don't care. You've been out there to talk about the flag.
OK. Front page of The Sun, Emily Thornberry, according to The Sun, a rich Labour MP. She has tweeted this photograph of somebody's house, a white van with the English flags out the front. And it's got a lot of people very upset. I mean, she's made no comment about this being chavvy, no comment about it being racist at all, but it's a dig at people in this country. You've been talking about it this morning, getting calls on it. So what we said earlier on was that I was going to take the front page to the streets, show people the front page and just get their initial reaction to seeing those English flags outside somebody's home. I've done that. Here's what happened.
Well, it's up to them if they want to fly the flag. That's fair play to them, but it looks a bit tacky, but if that's their belief, that's their belief.
Are there people near you who fly the flag?
Yes, there are.
How many?
2 or 3.
I don't think it looks very good. No, it doesn't do the community any good, does it?
Why not?
Just doesn't look right.
I partly agree with Iain sometimes. It does look a little bit cheesy, but on the other hand, there are some people that are just very proud to be British. So it's kind of a bit of a catch-22.
I get the impression you wouldn't fly the flag outside your home.
No, I wouldn't fly that flag, not particularly, no.
If that was your next-door neighbour...
I have one across the road, and he doesn't bother me, I don't bother him, and they're proud, so...
So he's flying the flag outside his home?
Yeah, and his neighbour as well, so I look at it every day.
When you go home, are you embarrassed to live down that road? And be honest.
No, I'm not.
OK, madam, there's the front page of The Sun. The English flag's flying there. Just give us your initial reaction. When you see that, what do you think about that?
I really don't think there's anything wrong there. I mean, this is England, and why not? It is the English flag at the end of the day.
You don't think it's a bit chavvy, a bit tacky?
No. It's mainly done when it's the football season anyway. It's not done every day. You don't see it all the time.
And, of course, England were playing this week.
Yes, they were.
Great stuff. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Steve.
08459 455 555. So we've got time to talk about Jeremy Vine, speeding Vine. Jeremy Vine on a bicycle. BBC star stopped for cycling at 16 miles per hour. He's got one of those cameras on his head. I might start wearing a camera on my head.
A helmet cam?
Well, yeah. Do I need a helmet? Can I just not have a cam?
A head cam. I suppose you could.
Imagine if I just...
What are you filming, though?
You? We're filming you now. We're filming you and your face now.
Wow. I want one of those, but it'd be pointless. You'd just see loads of people's waists all day.
Some people like those footage. Anyway, you see all these cyclists with these what are they called? Helmet cams. Okay, can I get a helmet cam? But just like without the helmet. I want a bionic eye. I want a bionic eye that just films everything.
You've got that, but you're the only one who can watch it back.
True. Good films, great memories, great times. Start racing along. This is the Daily Mail. Start racing along at more than 3 times the speed limit, and you might expect the police to come after you. What you might not expect is to get anywhere near to 3 times the speed limit when pedalling through the park on 2 wheels. What? That's exactly what happens to Radio 2 star and all-round nice guy Jeremy Vine. There will be truck drivers who are having to pull over now to wipe the tears from their eyes. He always does that, doesn't he? Yeah. We've got a text in from Steve, the trucker. Jeremy, really moved by that interview with the mum there. I've had to pull over and wipe the tears from my eyes.
That's actually a really good impression.
But that's all he does. This all he does is just he makes truckers cry. Why? Leave the truckers alone.
What's his beef with the truckers? You've got enough to contend with.
Jeremy Vine was confronted by police armed with guns. Speed guns.
Oh.
As he cycled in Hyde Park yesterday. He was caught zipping along at 16 miles per hour when regulations limit cyclists to just 5 miles per hour in London. I walk faster than 5 miles an hour.
What bicycle has a speedometer? It's an unfair competition. You can't tell how fast you're going. It always feels fast with the wind in your face.
That's no excuse. I didn't know. I'm trying to think of an example. I had my eyes closed, so I didn't know I murdered them. Well, it was still a murder.
What? That's a bad example.
It wasn't the best, was it, Kelly? Well done for...
Keep working on that.
OK.
Do you want to come up with another one?
If you can. We got 2 minutes.
OK. It's like saying, I did throw a stone at the bus, but it missed.
No, it's not.
No, the thing about having your eyes blindfolded was that you not knowing that you'd done it is not a defence in law.
Oh, I've got what you're saying.
Yeah, but fairness. Fair's fair.
Great campaign. That was my campaign for something, wasn't it?
Yes.
Anyway, a camera on the BBC presenter's helmet on his head captured the moment the officers stopped him and showed him the reading on their speed gun. Vine49 was apologetic. I bet he was. You right, Kelly?
I've just got to wipe the tears from my eyes.
I'm sorry if you are a trucker and you're crying now. I wonder if anybody's been killed because Jeremy Vine has made a trucker cry so much they just couldn't pull over in time.
Don't say that.
So Vine49 was apologetic, but suggested that such a low speed limit puts cyclists in danger by forcing them onto the roads. The Star, who also presents Eggheads... Helmet head.
I just imagine him going like the clappers.
Shared his video with his 260,000 followers on Twitter.
Gosh, it's as if he's not ashamed at all.
Unbelievable. Are you allowed to film coppers and put the footage on Twitter just like that? Are you allowed to do that?
I think if they're filming you can.
Right, that's it. That's your lot. Thank you very much, everybody. New podcast will be up soon.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The M1 southbound is queuing from junction 13 for Bedford towards Toddington services because of the accident there at the Central Reservation. In Fancott, Luton Road is looking slow eastbound between the B530 and Luton Road with people avoiding the M1 and the problems there. The A5 is also looking very busy southbound towards Hockliffe between Leighton Road and the A505 junction. And it's also looking quite busy on the North Orbital Road where it meets the M25 junction 21A roundabout on the speed sensors. Having a look at the trains though, there's no reports of any problems there at the moment. Samantha Bruff, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much, Samantha. As I was saying, there'll be a new podcast up in a few hours. You can get it by going to the BBC Three Counties Radio website, or you'll be able to get it from iTunes. I don't know, maybe tonight or tomorrow. It takes a while. That was a fun show, wasn't it? Fingers crossed I'll be back on Monday. Who knows what will happen? If I die, find out why. Catherine, Justin, Kelly, thank you very much. We'll be back on Monday at 6. Coming up next is JVS.
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Iain. Good morning. Welcome to the JVS show. I'm Jonathan Vernon-Smith. It's Friday. It's 9 o'clock. And on today's Big Phone-In, why do you think people voted for UKIP? Last night, UKIP won their second seat in Parliament as former Conservative Mark Reckless was voted